Well, here we are at the capital city here, beautiful Western Australia, for the Jandakot Airport Track Classic. My name is Matt Lynch. I am again joined by Tamsin and Ben. Welcome to Perth.
Yeah, it's great to be here. What beautiful conditions we've got, Matt. The athletes should be pretty happy with this out here, especially after Sydney was a bit fresh.
No, you're exactly right. Look at that. The sunshine is, well, we're going to get a beautiful tan by the time we leave Western Australia. It's right in our faces at the moment, but it is just looking tip-top out there. Ben, you grew up over here. Is it nice to be back?
It is nice to be back. I've been back for the week. I thought I'd come over early and just to see how the conditions fare each of the nights. And the big thing about Perth is it's consistent. So you come here and you know what to expect. And it's been the same every single night this week. Beautiful, warm conditions. The wind starts to die down as the night goes on, and it just turns into perfect conditions.
Now we're going to go straight into the action here. Our first event on the program at 5:30 here, Western Australian time. It's the Women's Open Pole Vault. There's 4 starters in this field. We have Nina Kennedy, Ala Panov, Lauren Hyde-Cooling, and Courtney Smolacombe. So there are 4 athletes that are going to should be underway very shortly. Looks like the bar set at 3:51 for our first round attempts. So that's our start list there. I don't think Ala's going to jump twice there. That's one of the younger sisters of the Panov sisters. She's a twin, I think.
She is a twin. Natasha's her twin sister. So it's weird seeing this. How many Panovs are there? They just keep churning the pole vaulters out, don't they? Alex does a great job here training the Panov girls.
And the thing is, they've basically had a pole vault in their hands since they could first carry one. And that's the thing. And they've had the luxury of developing technique from such a young age, which most pole vaulters don't get that ability to be able to do.
Yeah, exactly right. And, you know, you've seen the older sister working their way down. They've grown up in that elite environment. Vicky to Liz and now to the twins. It's in the blood. And
they've kept breaking records the way they've gone through. And it must be quite interesting because when they're in junior ranks, they're trying to break their sisters' records as they go through. So it's a big call to see who's going to be the best Panov vaulter at the end of their careers. But
yeah, and coming up on our next event on the track, it's going to be on the field, it's going to be a Ripper Field program here. We've come back. This is the first time that Brooke Stratton's been back to this track since she set the national record. Second Australian over that 7-metre barrier, breaking Bronwyn Thompson 7 metres with a 7:05 back in 2016. And I think the conditions here, they're right for the taking, but it's just whether she's in the right shape to take it.
It really is, and the way that works here with the conditions is early in the evening. The winds are still up a little bit. They call it the Freo Doctor. It's just finishing up, and the track's still warm. So this is the perfect time to be out there in the long jump to try and get a good jump in, because as the evening goes on, the wind starts to die, so you don't have that assist behind you on the runway. So these winds, they're probably sitting around that 1.5 at the moment. The winds are still up a little bit. They call it the Freo Doctor.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was actually when we went for a little warm-up,
and the track's still warm. So this is the perfect time to be out there.
Discus circle, you know, loosening up the joints, trying to get the Danny Stevens, and the Matt Denny technique down pat. I think obviously mine was the best, as you might see with the votes going at the moment. But I'm sure Ben will.
I'm not so sure.
He doesn't agree with that one, but. The winds, it is starting to settle down. It was pretty gusty out there before, I reckon pushing up over the 4s, but you would have just seen Nina Kennedy have the first attempt at 3:51. She's coming off a short run up here. Well, how are we going at the moment? 48 to 52 to Matt, and if you go to the next one, Matt's currently winning, so understandable. And on my Instagram, I'm winning, so 2 out of 3. I think that says it all. Silence. That's what I wanted to hear, just nothing.
Let's get back to the action as we see the pole vaulters on the runway currently.
Ala Panov getting clear there on her first attempt at 3:51. So like we were saying before, Nina Kennedy coming off a short run-up. So she's been injured. She's just working her way back through, and hopefully she can recapture that form that got her the bronze medal at the Commonwealth Games.
I mean, she'd probably say that she's a little bit rusty, and pole vault's one of those events where, as you can see, they get to, I mean, I don't think it does any justice until you stand there underneath the heights that they're trying to get to. It's a scary event. Obviously, there's a lot of technical side to it, and when you are a little bit rusty, it can really affect the way that you go about it. So going off the short run-up just to get some confidence and make sure that her body is okay. Here she is off that short run-up. You'll be able to tell that she's got a shorter pole, and she's not going to have as fast a speed as she hits that box to take off with.
No, 366 the bar going up to, so it's going up in 15s at the moment, working their way up to the qualifying mark, which is 4:56. So I think that's the way they've worked it out to get there eventually. 66, the 1s, the 6s. So they'll get there eventually, but you know, early days, but she looked good over that 351, and I think she'll go clear here.
Yeah, and it's one of those things is that I guess some people might think, why is she doing this? Why is she off a short approach? It's a competition. Why aren't you on a full approach? Well, this is such a critical phase of basically also your training and also your competition program. And there are comps that, especially for pole vaulters, they need to go through this stage. They need to build the rhythm and get an understanding of where they are, all the different phases throughout their run-up. And as the season goes on, that run-up will start to extend out further and further and further, leading into nationals and then further on into the European season.
You know what? I wish I could have taken a 400 off a short approach. You know, if I was given the option, I probably would have. So, I don't know. I think it's great. It just gives you that.
It's called dropping down to a 200
no.
training.
It's
shorter. Nina's a quality athlete, and even though she's obviously not ready to jump the heights that we've seen her jump, I think it's fantastic that she's out here and she is using this competition phase as training. I mean, we're talking about an athlete who came 8th in the world indoors last year. She did get that Commonwealth Games medal. She's been a world junior 4th place, I think she got. She's a quality athlete, and we've seen some high heights from her last year, and she'll just be looking to get that confidence up so she can get back to that world stage where we know she can be so competitive.
And that's the thing is, a competition is still a competition. Whether you're off a short approach or a long approach, it's still a competition, and you can't replicate that in training. So it's so important to come out here and still compete when you're in this phase of training to get that competition practice. And here she is doing it, and full credit to her.
And you can tell she is doing exactly what you're just talking about. She's still going through those phases where she's waiting for the right wind, and she's waiting for that perfect moment in her run-up and the time that she's been allocated to take this vault to go. So you can see there how short that run-up is. And, I mean, how hard is it to get over the heights that they're doing, even and to do it off a short run-up without having great speed at the end of that, where you place the pole vault into the box? She's a quality athlete.
So we see her go up. Yeah, not quite the height she was hoping for in that one. And she sort of knew it as she was coming in. Didn't have quite the same takeoff she would have. Didn't sort of rip on the pole.
It's one of those things where you'd want to have Steve Hooker in here with us to explain it, but it looked like she just didn't place the pole into the box in the right spot, so the bend wasn't right, so she didn't get enough arch in that pole. But that's obviously not the technical terms for it. But
no, and it also comes down to how close she's actually getting to the box to be able to plant the pole as well. So if her speed's not quick enough on the runway, she's not getting close enough, so she doesn't have the ability to be able to rip into the pole, get the lean back. I don't know what the technical term for it is, as you see there.
Perfect.
She wasn't able to do that because it seemed like she was a little bit too far out, and she's sort of reaching for the box.
Alapanov there, 366 over the bar, nice and easy. Getting close to her seed mark she put in at 371, so should see it once Nina's had a few more attempts. I don't think she just wasn't as aggressive on that second attempt there. And, you know, all these pole vaulters, they're going to have PBs for the amount of steps they're on. If you're off 6 steps, I've got a PB that I want to try and beat. And that's what they're going to do, and that's going to set them up for their later competitions when they really start ripping in off a full approach.
And you can see the difference in the confidence level there. Alla's just come off winning the state championships in 371. So she knows that she's got this height within her capabilities, and you could see with her approach how fast she attacked that. She looks like she's ready to go higher.
Well, another clearance there, 366. As we get ready for the long jumpers, they are getting introduced to the crowd just in front of the stadium. And we're going to keep an eye on that board as we go through our field there. 5 starters in this field. Caitlin Blackman jumping first. Caitlin Billing, Sinta Wadana, Na Anang, and Brooke Stratton. So, you know what they say, save the best for last. Na and Brooke, they're quality athletes at the moment. They're the 2 best long jumpers going around.
We've got to be pretty excited to see what Na can do, because obviously she ran so fast in the Queensland State Championships. You were there, Matt. You saw how she ran that 100. I mean, she's got the fastest time on the board for the Australian women in the 100 metres now. And if she can control that through the run-up and through the board and through the air, we could be looking at a really big jump from her.
And that's the thing. And there's been so many quality long jumpers over the years from all different countries from all around the world that have been able to transition their 100 speed onto the long jump runway and succeeded it. Obviously, the most famous one being Carl Lewis, someone who was so fast on the 100-metre track, transitions over to the long jump runway, and that actually works. You know, it's one of those things. Even Miss Watt, the guy could run
Yeah, he was fast.
10.3 on the track, and next you know, you take that speed, harness it, and put it onto the long jump runway, which is why he was able to jump so far.
And Mitch could probably run faster because we didn't see him run a lot of hundreds. He had a lot of speed.
We couldn't use blocks either.
Yeah.
And neither could Na. Honestly, she did a block session about 2 days before the state champs, and I think it might have made it worse.
Sorry, on saying just that, if you put her on a flying leg in a 4x1, she could be
in the team.
A secret weapon for our women's 4x1 team going forward.
100%.
Because
Down the back, probably keep her for last, so there's less changes. She doesn't have to take. She hasn't done too many relays.
But we have some quality athletes that we could put into that team, and Na running that 11:40. And if you say her start's so bad, if you put her on a fly, we're starting to talk a good women's team. Sally Pearson running fast, if Riley Day on a bend, and there's a lot of women vying for that 4th position. It could be a fantastic team.
I think she's interested. She may even be doing a, you know, don't quote me on this, a late entry internationals.
I know, we'll quote you.
Internationals for the 100 metres if it falls together with her long jump through qualifying in the heats.
Having said that, wouldn't you like to be able to make it happen? Because if she is our fastest 100-metre runner, you'd love to be able to see her in that 100 metres. So let's hope that it does fall, the program falls for her.
And when we're talking about athletes from different events coming into the 100, the other one you got to look at is Celeste Mucci.
Ah, yes.
One down in Canberra.
She's
after doing the long jump.
Almost.
Well, Brianna Bean, I think, is the next, and then Sally, and then
Brittany
Celeste. Yep, and Brittany from the state champs as well.
So, you know, it's amazing.
It's fantastic.
It's amazing the talent that we can pull from other events to put into the women's 100. That team could be pretty good.
Yep, and which is good because we talk about the men's 4x1, how the depth that we've got in those ranks where they're pushing each other week in, week out, have then created a foursome that is, you know, going to be vying for that Olympic final next year. And if you get the women doing the same thing, you know, there's pride on the line if you're a sprinter. You don't want a long jumper beating you or a heptathlete beating you. So it's going to be great for our ladies in that 100 metres. And if they can get those times down to that 11.3 and under, we're starting to talk serious contenders for another Olympic final. I mean, when would be the last time a women's 4x1 made the final? Would it be back to 1996? Kylie Hannigan, Sharon Cripps, Jodie Lambert, Lauren Hewitt?
Oh.
I reckon it was 96.
You're on your own there.
Okay. Happy to be on my own. That's who
I know when we last won it, when we won the gold in Auckland.
Yep.
Yeah?
Yep. Yep, that was
an all-Queensland
Commonwealth Games. Yep. That had a very young Kathy Freeman.
That's right. It was the first team. So we've had our first two jumps there. Caitlin Billing going 5.46. Caitlin Blackman, 5.51 with Cinta Wardana on the runway now. So the first three athletes, local Western Australians. And then into Na Anang and Brooke Spratt. And talking to Na's coach, Gary Bourne.
Yep.
Talking about this newfound speed. That's what she's struggling with at the moment, translating that speed into lift.
Okay.
At the moment, she's just not planting onto the board and getting up. It's almost going into the sand. So once you can get that extension off the board and really turn that horizontal speed into vertical speed, it's going to be a huge jump. And 11.43, she broke their training group record, which was Bronwyn Thompson, I think it was 11.80.
Wow.
And that's like a demolishing of that. And she was a 7-metre jumper.
Yeah.
And we're not talking anybody who's shabby here. Bronwyn Thompson finished 4th in an Olympics behind three Russians.
Yeah, I'd say it's
probably a sneaky gold.
It's a sneaky gold.
And it'll be interesting to see how she goes in this comp and further into the season toward nationals, because sometimes when you develop this newfound speed and you're not used to it, it really does affect your run-up and the way you work it, because what your run-up was last year, and obviously that's a baseline for where you start coming into, obviously, the next season. As we just see the third attempt there for Nina, she's gone clear, so she'll be happy with that one.
Yeah, 3.76 the bar up at now. So it looks like Alapanov on the runway now might add 5 centimetres to that attempt, that height she did at the state championships. But Na Anang on the runway now. The wind, not as gusty as it was a lot earlier. It is hot. The sun is blasting. The windsock just down beside the Coles tent. Not doing a lot at the moment.
But as we were saying before, it's one of those things where you start where you left off last season as a baseline, but then obviously if you've developed speed over that time, it then affects your run-up. So you have to go back to the training track and redevelop that run-up. And we've seen she's just getting better and better and better. As we see her, and the white flag goes up, so that'll be a fair jump. She seems pretty happy with it.
6.72 is what we want for the Doha qualifier. PB is 6.68. We'll wait and see what happens here as she goes to see her coach, Gary Bourne, up in the stands.
She's done a 665 windy this season, so 657 last year.
Got her eyes on that.
Oh.
I think I just heard a 670, 670.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh, can we
So
get it
she's-
remeasured?
So she's busted out a PB on her first jump, which just needs 2 more centimetres, but that's 1 jump out of 6.
I'd ask for the remeasure. Don't rake the pit. Let me see exactly where it was.
Brooke Stratton next up on the runway. That's an early gauntlet. A very early gauntlet. Now, you might see as the camera pans down on those jumps, there's a red tape and a black tape down on the measurement board. The red is the qualifier for Doha. The black is the national record of 7:05. Can't feel much wind up here, but it feels like just looking out in the stands, it will be legal,
Yep.
I think. So it's definitely under that 2.0 for the wind.
So for an opener, 670.
I know. That's
spells
tasty.
good things for this competition as we see Brooke beginner run up. What can Brooke Stratton do here on her first attempt in this women's long jump?
Oh,
She's out
Oh, it's
there.
out there as
Good.
well.
it's good.
So based off where Na landed in the pit, that's a similar range.
Well, Brooke hasn't got a qualifier yet either this season.
So the official just finding the mark there, just making sure. So it looks like she may have just.
No, I
hit
just
her
tickled it
hand
a bit
back
earlier.
little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
.636, I think I've heard over the. There it is, yeah. So just losing a little bit, just dropping a bit early, I think.
But also there was a bit of spray back from the landing when she hit the pit.
Yep.
And obviously where the official had to mark her jump definitely wasn't where her body had landed. So she probably lost 20 to 30 centimetres on that one, which is so important to get that landing right when you're coming into the pit.
So Caitlin Blackman there on the runway. You can see our windsock. Just, you know, what is that, a southerly? The Fremantle Doctor?
It comes from the southwest.
Southwest. Thanks for the local knowledge. Now, if you do remember a long time ago when it wasn't, you know, WA Athletics wasn't based here in Mount Claremont, it was at Perry Lakes. Now, the stadium faced the opposite direction.
Yep.
Okay, because the Queen, during the 1962 Empire Games, I think it was still back then, didn't want to look into the sun.
Yep.
Which
The
means
1962.
bulk
Yep.
headwinds all day.
Yep.
Yeah, my mum went to those Commonwealth Games as a 16-year-old high jumper.
Well, there you
Wow.
go.
Perry Lakes has had some history. It's sad when you lose a stadium with so much history, but
It is.
this is a beautiful setting for the new stadium, and you're right, it does
Yeah.
help our
But-
sprinters.
Yeah, well, it does. So they've turned it around here. So now we do look into the setting sun in the grandstand, and it is like walking into a furnace when you come out here on a hot afternoon. But you know what? Tailies all day.
Dailies all day.
But do you know what I appreciate? The local council obviously redeveloped
Yep.
the site in the area. They kept the old scoreboard and clock tower.
Yep.
Yep.
And they've developed the road where the new housing is now in the shape of the 400-metre track. And all the street names are after different things. The wooden planks from the seating is all now boardwalks through the area. And it's actually
That's
really
beautiful.
nice. They've done a good job to try and retain some of that
Yep.
history.
It's nice when they do that. They've done that with a few stadiums around Australia. They did it with Waverley Park in Victoria, which is a football stadium.
Just really keep that history. And that's something that, you know, Perth would have been just a developing city in 1962. And to keep that, you know, that history around a lot of they just want to feel it's part of their being as they've grown up. A lot of the older athletes here and, you know, people just involved with athletics for a long time. It might be why they stayed in the sport and developed so many other athletes and officials and coaches and stayed around for this event. The bar still at 376 in this women's pole vault. Alapanov back on the runway.
Now, she won the under-16 state championships. I should have clarified that because she's actually only 15
Oh.
years old. She's only just turned 15 as well.
It's almost like a competition within the Parnov household. Who holds the
Yeah, what was
most
your
age
PB
world
at 15?
records?
Let's go. I'm going to have to beat that. When you get a house record, you actually get like a national record.
A world record.
Ooh, very aggressive on the run-up, so...
We do that in our family with national titles against the Boyd family.
Yeah, same.
And the boys like just keep winning national titles, don't they? I'm like, when Alana retired, good girl. That's it.
So that was the third attempt there for Parnov. So she'll bow out of this competition at 376 as we go back to the long jump. This is Cinta Wadana from Western Australia. Unfortunately, getting the red flag there.
We're talking about two of our strongest events, aren't we? The long jump and the pole vault. Just mentioned Alana Boyd, who obviously won the Commonwealth Games gold medal. Just missed that podium in Rio for the women's pole vault. Long jump, we've had such success in the men's with medals with Gary Honey, Mitch Watt. Women's who we should have had Bronwyn Thompson, as you mentioned before. And then we've just got, you know,
well, the Boyds have featured both in both women's pole vault and women's long jump. Alana's younger sister, Jacinta. Great long jumper.
Fantastic junior athlete. And then just had, like a lot of athletes who are great juniors, just sometimes when you transition, just things happen that you just can't control. And so poor Jacinta, who had great talent, she had some bad injuries and some sicknesses, but did very well as a junior.
I'd like to know what's going through Na's head at the top of this runway. She's just busted out a PB.
Yep.
2 centimetres on top of it. Needs another 2 centimetres to get the Doha qualifier. So when she did her last PB, that was the 2017 qualifier. 6:65, she went 8:68. Now she needs that 72. Let's see what she can. The wind has picked up a little bit. Let's get Na out there. 2 more centimetres. Oh, that's out there.
Oh.
She looks happy with that.
Yeah, and she was actually a fair way back on the board on that one. So she's still got a lot of room left in this jump.
Such a character.
So it'll be interesting to see what we come with from this. But yeah, she definitely looks happy with it.
Well, Gary's not showing any signs of emotion, is he?
Gary never does.
You could see Brooke in the background when Na was jumping, clapping along with the crowd. They get along so well. I think they realised...
6:73.
Oh!
There you go.
6:73. Doha qualifier.
There's the World Champs qualifier. And like I said, she was well back on the board as well. So
yeah, she was.
We're looking in the 80s now for Na.
Well, it just goes to show anyone who's a long jumper back home, work on your speed, because look what Na's being able to do, controlling that speed through the long jump. She's getting PB after PB here.
Yeah.
I don't think she's done for the night, do you?
No, I don't think so either. And that's the thing. If she gets this run up bang on, we could see something pretty big. So it'd be interesting to see how Brooke responds here. Now she's just seen her good friend go 6:73, World Champs qualifier. She knows the conditions are good. She knows the track is fast.
They're so supportive of each other, these two.
Yeah. So what can Brooke do here in round 2 of the women's long jump? She comes down the runway, good speed.
Oh, that's a big jump.
Big jump, close to the board. Oh, just over.
Red flag.
Just over, because it did look big in the pit. So
looked like had good height, good distance, didn't it?
It's got to be close.
You know, when a jumper goes to look, they wanted that one to be on it. They knew it was good.
As we see the replay here on the foot, as she comes in. Oh, just a fraction over. Probably looking at 5-6 centimetres there. Just the toes hanging over the edge, hanging 10
but she
on the board.
Good. She looked really good, so she's
did.
got it in her. This is these two are so good for each other, being able to compete at this level down in Australia.
Yeah.
So Na has now moved from 8th to 6th on the all-time list. So she actually passed her good friend and training partner Chelsea Jensch, who was at 70, as well as Lynn Jasenko, or Lynn Tillett when she was competing. So next up, Jane Fleming at 6:78, and then it's Robin Lauraway, Nicole Bergman, Bronwyn Thompson, Brooke Stratton.
We're talking big names in women's long jump. I mean, Chelsea was at the last Olympics, and, you know, it's exciting.
As we see Nina Kennedy back on the runway here, the bar has gone up, and she's over. A nice clearance there off the short run up at 6.
I think it's 386.
386. Definitely not 686.
No, that's a very high. You can't even do that on a PlayStation. So it does make it difficult. The official is standing directly in our line of the height board, and all we could see was a 6 at the front. So 386.
It's interesting how the mind works. I'm looking down at the scoreboard. I just start to read it. I believe what's on there. Start reading out 686 for a pole vault. So it definitely
We want to
is
see that on the long
386.
jump in about, a couple of minutes' time.
Yeah.
Maybe 686.
Maybe the wires got crossed up and... So this is Lauren Hyde Cooling, a training partner of Nina and Alapanov. And she goes clear at 386 as well.
Well, she won the Open State Champs here and she cleared 4 metres and she looks like she's well on her way to doing that again tonight.
These conditions really are good. They really are good, which is what you want to see because sometimes conditions can make or break a competition because this is a sport in 100%. You have to compete at 100%, and if you're not at 100%, it really sort of shows. And part of that is getting the right conditions because with the long jump, the conditions, if it's cold, rainy, windy, it's not great. That's the difference between that World Champs qualifier and not getting it.
Yep.
So I think Na and Brooke and even Nina and Lauren on the pole vault are really appreciating these conditions out here and understanding that, hey, if we're going to perform, now's the time we're going to do it.
And Lauren's boyfriend, Matt Ramsden, who just got added to the World Cross-Country team, is running later in the evening in the mile. Be interesting to see if he's had to change his training back to doing the distance work, because I'm guessing when he wasn't picked, he would have been focusing a little bit more on the speed side leading into nationals for the 1500.
Yeah, well, now he's going to feature in the mile. He actually can qualify for the World Champs off a mile run, so potential for him out here tonight.
Yeah.
If they get around, but he's a West Australian as well, so he likes competing at home.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to see him get out there and amongst it. And
well, his brother's in the field too.
oh, excellent.
Yep. Family affair. Girlfriend on the pole vault run up and his brother is in the race with him.
Speaking of family affair, I've got...
Benny's stalking people on social media.
Understandable. If you're watching the live stream, chuck it up on your Instagram story, tag Athletics Australia.
Yep.
Let us know how you're watching it, who you're watching it with, who you want to see. But not everyone can make it to Western Australia. It's a hefty flight from the East Coast.
I definitely not stalking anyone on social media. It is actually my niece. So I just got sent a video from my sister. My little niece has just been born. She's sitting in front of the Athletics watching the live stream.
Oh.
So she's straight into it from a young age. She seems to be enjoying it.
I can vouch for this. She actually does look like she's really enjoying it. She's into it. We've got a little athlete on our hands. I love it.
She's ready to go. She's going to be jumping out of her skin soon to Na Nang. Hopefully she's watching this next third attempt.
Her new biggest fan.
I think there's going to be something special in this pit tonight. I'm thinking she's going to get to over 680. That's where I'm not putting a limit on it. I think something over 680 tonight can happen. She's going to jump in front of Jane Fleming.
Yep.
That's the 678. That's the next in front of her.
Look, I'm going to put it out there. I can see 90s because after that jump at 673, she was way at the back of the board on that one. So she's got a lot in her. We'll see what she can come out here because this is a 20-centimetre board, and if you're at the back of it, that's a lot of centimetres to lose on a jump. And she comes in, takes off. That's a bit better.
That was an aggressive jump.
That one looked just a little bit flatter. It's interesting because what happens is if you...
Yeah, the speed, I think. Just not getting the extension off.
But I'm guessing if you have 2 really good jumps on the board, and you know your speed's up, you're probably just going to go for it at some point. And then it's trying to nail that relaxation state while you're still trying to do the long jump. So she might have just tried a little bit too hard.
Nina goes over at 396.
And happy.
Yeah, 657 there for Na. I think she was a little bit more reckless on the, not reckless, sorry, uncontrolled. So she's like, you know what, I've got the qualifier. Let's open up a little bit. And I think the extra speed, just not prepared for it. So maybe that more controlled approach. I know Fabrice Lapierre, he almost looks like he's strolling down there because he knows if I go flat out to the board, I can't jump as far as I need to because I just can't control that speed. I need to come with a good rhythmic approach. And you've all seen him. This is the pit here where he went 8.78.
Oh, my goodness. Wasn't that insane?
That was huge.
There is some jumps.
Insane.
The 2 longest jumps in history under any condition by Australian male and female. Bam.
Yep.
Right there.
I think it was Sunday afternoon at the
National
Championships, wasn't
it
it?
stopped the track.
And here's Brooke back on the runway for a 3rd attempt here. The crowd's getting behind her. She's asked for the clap. What she got here? Good on the board.
She's out there.
And it's out there. It is. So the white flag goes up.
And a white flag down the runway as well. That's a legal wind. Didn't know he was out there until just then, so I'm glad there's someone there.
How's the suspense when you're waiting for the jump distance to come up?
So this would be a nervous wait, knowing you're out around that mark.
Heads over to her dad, Russell, who's her coach.
6.72.
Wow.
Doha qualifier, back-to-back. We've got 2.
Yeah.
2 already.
There you go.
Don't even worry about it.
We're, what, 2 events in and we've already got 2 qualifiers.
Wow.
Thanks for coming.
Oh, good on them. Well done.
Do you know what's happened so far this season? All our qualifiers have come in 2s.
Yeah.
Curtis and Liz in the pole vault,
Yep.
2. Sarah and Loz in the 4 hurdles, 2. Brooke and Na in the long jump, 2.
What does that tell you? Competition.
Yeah.
And do you know what I want to see later on? Men's 100, 2.
If we get
Men's 200,
2.
2.
Just
Men's
2s.
800, 2. I think we've got it.
Yeah. No, I want to see it.
The
Live stream, 2.
Out the field.
Sorry, one of us is going to miss out on a qualifier, unfortunately. There's 3 of us here. Only 2 get it. I shotgun one of them, so...
I'm happy to sit back.
Oh, okay, there we go. That makes it easy. It's a walk-in.
I'll sit in the stands and watch. I'm all good with that. With a VIP package, please.
Nice.
Clear at 96 there.
Seems pretty happy with that. And she had won that state title, as you said, with the 4 metres, so she's creeping up on that mark that she did win that WA state title with. So the next height will be 4:01.
She's also creeping up to her personal best. You know, we're talking about a world junior representative. She's a talented athlete. She's a talented junior. She's just trying to make her way up into the senior ranks now, and she looks really confident as well. Could have a few people rewriting their personal best tonight, I feel. Good night. Started well, and sometimes that sets the tone, doesn't it? You notice in Australian teams, athletes that are on that first day, it's really important to get the team off to a really good start. So our ladies in the field events tonight have done a very, very nice job.
They've done a ripper job, and that's so true with major teams like that. And sometimes you can look back at past performances, and when the team starts off so well, the energy around the team just sort of lifts.
Yep.
And it really does bring something special out of someone. So, hey, this may spell good things for the rest of the night, and we could see some pretty special performances.
I think we saw that just during the games when we had field events going on, Stark, and then the Javelin with Catherine. They're all there, and they're feeding from other ends of the stadium. And, you know, you've got a track athlete doing laps around the outside of you as well. You've just got this fire, and you see your mates doing well. Fires you up. 4:01 now at the bar.
As you say that, can't start a fire starts on the music.
We can start a fire.
A fire has been started.
How dare they tell us that we can't start a fire?
Someone call the fire brigade because there is a fire out on the long jump runway. As we see Nina back on the runway again for her first attempt at 4:01. And the other thing with these short approaches, a lot of time you have to be a lot more aggressive on it because you don't have the speed you would normally have off a full approach to be able to use the momentum. So you sort of have to build it yourself.
Yeah, it looks
and it has to be
hard.
really aggressive as they come up.
You have to rip in to get the bend in the pole.
Yeah.
If you don't have the speed to turn that into vertical momentum, you're not going to get anywhere. That's not going to bend.
Well, it looks like it'd take an incredible amount of upper body strength.
Oh,
too.
huge
And
amounts.
And you'd really want to be placing that pole vault into the box in exactly the right spot.
And you see them doing things like even basic exercises like chin-ups in the gym with just weights strapped all around them because they have to build that upper body strength.
I mean,
so this looks like from that a 6-step run up.
There's no speed on that. I mean, you cannot gather enough speed and momentum to get anything, generate any momentum from the run up.
Upright at 6 steps.
This is amazing. I'm watching this and thinking this is amazing. If she then extends her run up with some of the confidence that she's getting out of what she's doing now, she's going to be dangerous at the end of the year.
And that's the thing is, that obviously, not everyone has a pole vault mat to go out and practice on. But
you don't?
A challenge, no,
Oh,
not
okay.
normal people anyway. But a challenge to people: go out to your local athletics track, switch it to the long jump. First, do a long jump off a full approach, as long as you want. And then go and try and do a long jump of 6 steps and see how far you can jump compared to your full approach. And then you'll get an appreciation on exactly how hard it is to perform of such short approach with such minimal momentum.
Could not agree more.
So there's my Coles challenge to everyone.
Oh, hashtag Coles challenge.
Yeah, maybe we can get that going through social. It become the new challenge.
Now, our first event on the track for this evening will be the men's 400-metre hurdles. We have 7 starters out on the field. Coming out of lane 2, Joshua Hook. In 3, Timothy Throssell. In 4, Ian Dewhurst. In 5, Michael Cochran. In 6, Robert Broadhead. In 7, Toby Plant. And in 8, Cooper Anderton. The qualifier for this 49.30 for Doha. As our long jumpers are just rotating through, you know, changing the order as they've done their first 3 jumps.
The men's 4 hurdles is a tough qualifier because on the world stage, you'd have to argue that the men's 4 hurdles was one of the events of the year last year. It just had talent.
It is.
Talent. You didn't know who was going to win, and they were ridiculously fast races.
It's sexy again.
It's sexy.
I coached a young fella last year, and I was like, you know what, 4 hurdles are cool. You know, there's, you know, other events get more rep. You know, they're a bit sexier, and then you get Ry Benjamin, Carson Warholm, and then.
And they're exciting.
Samba.
Yep, they're exciting
and
athletes to watch, aren't they?
again.
Yep.
Yeah, personalities running around. But I mean, but they're running 47 seconds.
I know.
Like, that is just insane. 47 seconds. And they're all doing it. And they're racing down the front straight. And they're fighting for the wins. It's just, it's an event that's really tough. And the flip side of it is, we're trying to get Dewhurst and Cochran to get the qualifiers. And they're tough asks in Australia. So I think tonight we're going to look for Cochran will probably do his same thing. He goes out ridiculously fast.
Yep.
He's a speedy athlete and he likes to attack. And I love watching how he goes about his 4 hurdles. And then Ian Dewhurst, isn't he just a beautiful mover?
He's a calculated. He's very calculating.
I love watching his stride patterns because it's different to most people in the world, the way that he goes about it. He thinks on his feet. Like in Sydney, he didn't do what I thought he was going to do, where he often throws in less strides, 13 strides down the back straight, because he felt like the wind was a little bit strong, and so he changed it himself. He can think on his feet, but he is a smooth runner, and he runs beautifully over the hurdles and off the hurdles. So I think he's the form runner. Well, he's definitely the form runner to watch, and if Cochran can drag him out fast enough because he's on the outside of him, we may be able to see, you know, at least a sub-50 time, as long as the conditions are okay there.
And that's the thing is, and the big thing here with WA, depending on when you're running and what the winds are doing, it's usually always a headwind down the back straight, depending on how strong that is, because it's a little bit more open on the back straight, so you do feel it more than you do on the front straight.
Which is tough for 400s.
It is. And if you're someone who goes out, who relies on going out so fast, when you have that strong headwind, you do have to be careful of not fighting into it too much and expending too much energy through the first 200 and then not having enough to come home with. And to be honest, at this time of the night, it probably suits Ian a little bit more, being more controlled through the first 200.
Yeah, definitely.
And then coming home strong, as opposed to someone who relies. As we go back to the runway, is Brooke back on the long jump. She's up.
Ooh.
Looks like another good one out there. The white flag goes up. Unfortunately, it looks like the wind is too strong, so there is a red flag on the wind gauge.
He's turning back up again, and that's going to cause an effect with these 400 hurdles. When we walked down the back straight earlier today, it was blowy.
Yeah. So watch
just a bit at the back end.
Watch for Dewhurst to come home late.
Well, this will be a replay of their WA State Championships, where Cochran was leading close to the last hurdle, and Dewhurst just had that strength and composure to come over the top. And it's what you see normally from Ian, and I think he'll do it again.
And typically, if this event was, say, 2 hours later, then you'd be looking at Cochran. Maybe that might suit Cochran a little bit more, because literally there's no wind down the back straight, so he's got nothing to fight into.
Now, if you look at the bottom of our screen here, a nice little ticker there. Plan out your evening. These are looking like Perth time. So if you're in New South Wales, ACT, Victoria or Tasmania, add 3 hours to those times. If you're in Queensland, add 2 hours to those times. Adelaide, I don't know what happens over there. It's like a half.
It's a half hour behind Melbourne time. So it's
add
2.5.
Add 2.5 hours. Yep. Northern Territory, same thing.
Well done. We just got our maths done for the night.
Off the back of the board, but still a handy jump. She wasn't happy with it, though. 6.62 was Brooke Stratton's jump there.
Oops, spitting some sand out, poor Nah. Isn't it interesting when your confidence is up and you start to throw some PBs out, you get disappointed with your season's best in ladder jumps.
Ugh, not a qualifier.
But the good thing to see that it was another white flag on the wind gauge, so it was a bit of an anomaly with that last jump. It was the first time we've seen the red on the wind gauge, so hopefully it was just a once-off.
A gust.
A little gust of wind as it comes through.
6.30 there, so not what you wanted to get. See, Nina just
attempt.
knocking the bar off. 4.01. Not successful tonight. 3.96 off 6 steps for Nina Kennedy as the men's 400 hurdles get into their blocks.
And another one to watch is in lane 7 here is Toby Plant. Maury Plant's son, who he's got good family lineage in the hurdles with Vin Plant, his uncle, and
the great Maury Plant, top dog of world athletics.
He is top dog, and so let's see what Toby can do. He did a PB during the week of 53.8, I think it was, and he's coached by the legendary Lynn Foreman.
Ooh. I'm sure Maury is at home watching the live stream.
He's on the Gold Coast at the moment, so fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed he got the time right. Just with the time difference and all. And
after that expert analysis on daylight savings. Yeah. So from the inside, it's Joshua Hawke. We have a vacant lane in 3. Then it's Ian Dewhurst, Michael Cochrane, Robert Broadhead, Toby Plant, and Cooper Anderton. As they work their way down the back straight, it's the bright orange vest of Michael Cochrane rising first. Ian Dewhurst in the white singlet and the black splitties moving very comfortably down the back straight. He's probably only a step behind them at the moment from Cochrane. And on the outside, that's Toby Plant, probably in 3rd place at the moment. But as they come around the bend, 150 metres to go, this is where Dewhurst really starts to tighten the screws. And he's come home early. He's looking very strong over the 8th hurdle. He's clear, and he is starting to wind it up. Cochrane's starting to fall off the back of the pace here. Clear over the 9th hurdle, and Ian Dewhurst flying home. One more to clear, and this is a strong run. 50-61's his season best. This is going to be a good run here. 50-70, taking the win there. Cochrane in 2nd place, and looks like a fast finish there from Robert Broadhead of South Australia to take out 3rd place.
You know what? I think that says to us that that wind down the back straight was a little bit strong because Ian went out very hard then. I think he threw in 13s to about 7 and only dropped it down at the 8th.
I'm glad someone was counting because I had no idea.
Oh, I could be wrong, and I love talking to Ian after the race so he can tell me if I did get it wrong. But he looked like he was really pushing it, and you could tell that he was closer to Michael than Cochrane than he usually is at that point, or was closer than he was last time in Sydney. So his race plan was obviously to attack it tonight and to give himself every opportunity to run that sub-50. Unfortunately, it probably took a little bit out of him. He looked like down the back straight, he was probably just reaching a little bit, which sometimes happens with our hurdlers when they are forcing that stride pattern. But another great run, and it'll be a great training run for him. When he gets the conditions, you know that he's really close to that sub-50 form.
Yeah, and I don't know. Would have to go and speak to Cochrane after this, but it just didn't seem like he was himself.
No.
It sort of looked like he was forcing it down, even down the back straight early into the race, only 120 metres in, really trying to force it through. And when you do that, it just expends so much energy, especially in a four hurdle, even more so in that. And when you come around into the straight, you're just not really going to have much left if you've just forced a race through. And I don't know what it is, whether he's in a different phase of training or what, but it'd just be interesting to know what may be going on, because it's definitely not the same person we saw in his last race.
Well, another thing is confidence really does play a huge part in the 400 hurdles, and so you do have to get your energy expenditure exactly right. Otherwise, you do pay for it tenfold on the way home, because you still have to get over those hurdles with enough energy, you know, and keep it smooth. So his confidence probably isn't where it was at last year when he was obviously running a little bit better, but it doesn't mean that it's not there. You can get that confidence from the way that you're training on the training track. So you know that he's a talented athlete, and you know that it will come back. And he obviously probably was a little not as smooth as we know that he can be.
Yeah. As we see Lauren Hyde cooling back on the runway, 4:07.
1 centimetre onto her personal best. This would be if she can clear it. Running parallel with her is Brooke Stratton on the other runway as well. So, you know, this is where the live stream gets difficult. We've got two things going on at once, but Brooke looks more prepared to jump, and I think she'll take seniority in this. And we'll see Stratton march her way down for her 5th round attempt. Well, she sent that one. Another red flag at the wind gauge. White on the board, so that's fine, but I don't know. I just can't see. I don't know where this wind's coming from.
Yeah, well, every now and then, like if you look at the windsock, every now and then it'll get up, blow a little bit, and then go right back down, and it'll probably stay there for a few minutes. And it just, I guess it's one of those things, it's unfortunate if you happen to be on the runway at that time that the wind gets up. As we switch back to Hyde cooling on the pole vault for a personal best. She's up. Just didn't quite have it there.
671 though for Stratton. So she's staying consistent out there. She's had a 72 legal.
Yep. How good is that though? 671, and we're still sitting there going, yeah, you know, it wasn't as good.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
She's in great form, isn't she?
Yeah.
I don't think it's long before we see Brooke.
Fortunately for her camera position, Na's run up happens to start right behind the pole vault upright. So, you know, she's sort of just hiding behind it.
But that's one of those things though, is that when athletes lift their level within the event, our expectations of them lift as well.
Yep.
And it's only natural because that's one of the driving forces behind athletes to achieve and progressing and be better.
Yep.
So I'm sure they have higher expectations of themselves as we see Na come down again.
Oh, she sent. She ought to put that one into orbit.
Yeah, she was well off the back of the board. I don't think she even hit the board on that one.
I think she's just, you know, sitting down, absorbing what just might have happened then.
That's another thing. It's got to be pretty tough when you get your personal best, you get a World Champs qualifier, to go back and reassess. You know, there's nothing, you know, she's in the lead. You've got to refocus for every jump. But
well, I think she was just attacking that one. So you might have seen, as she came down the runway, just having a bit of issues with steering. She pulled to the left just a little bit. So I think maybe a bit of extra acceleration at the start. Not kind of used to controlling that kind of speed, throwing her a bit around the runway, and then
what
just,
a great problem to have.
Over-rotating, and she just had to bail out. There's your full results, though, from that men's 400-metre hurdles. Ian Dewars taking the win, 50.71 from Michael Cochran, 53.21. And rounding out the top three, Robert Broadhead from South Australia, 54.45. So we're now into our 6th round in this long jump. Hyde cooling, I think, second attempt at 4:07 to add 1 centimetre to her personal best. Oh, just a little bit of cherry picking there for Hyde cooling. Hopefully one more attempt in the back pocket for the West Australian. Cinta Wardana there on the Coles replay. She's getting her 6th round attempt out. 5.93 for the Western Australian as we just get some dinner delivered. It's a great spread here for the Western Australian officials. You know, being an official with track and field, it's a volunteer role. And for those working, you know, in the sport who are actually getting paid to be here, the best thing you can do for the officials is treat them with as much respect and just help them and give them as much as you possibly can within the bounds of your position. And, you know, a great meal is sometimes the icing on the cake.
Or a bottle of water when you cross the line.
Honestly, it's the little things that count, and because obviously our sport would not exist without them. So they are such a critical part of all of this. And obviously the people who work within the sport, it's up to them to be able to make sure that we look after the people we do have within the sport, because if we lost them, we would be up the creek.
You're certainly right.
And no one wants to be up the creek.
It's a sport built on volunteers. And without them, we would severely suffer.
And it's the nature of the sport. Obviously, for an event like this, you probably got, I don't know, 50 or 60 officials out there working in all different areas of the sport. And it's not like an AFL game where you've got four boundary umpires, 3 out in the field, and a couple of goal umpires. You know, you're not even needing more than 2 hands to be able to count how many you got out there. But here, there's such a reliance on so many people, which is why it's so important to make sure that we look after the ones that we do have.
Well, and on that point, we actually have the president of the IAAF out at the moment in Australia, because there's an Oceania conference going on where people are trying to work out ways to keep our sport popular, evolve it with the times. You know, think about Kerry Packer World Series back in the day when he brought in the one-dayers and the 2020 cricket phenomena. We're trying to always evolve with the times, keep our sport young, fast-paced and modern. So we've got Lord Sebastian Coe out, and I think the president of Athletics Australia is on the Gold Coast for it, and hopefully they'll get some good insights.
Oh, big clearance. Sorry to cut in there, Tamsin, but Lauren Hyde calling.
No, cut in. That was
PB
brilliant.
for the Western Australian, and that was a comfortable jump there. 4:07. She's added 1 centimetre to a PB. We've already had PB in the long jump, PB in the pole vault. What more can you ask for so far?
And it's footage like that that keeps you in the sport, isn't it? It's those moments where you get those personal bests. You know, they don't come all the time, and so you've got to enjoy those moments. What a great clearance by Lauren. She was up and over that. She cleared it easily. Great extension, great push off the bar, great celebration.
I do like a pole vault celebration. They get that free fall celebration as they fall down to the mat. It's Brooke Stratton, final attempt here in this long jump. Consistently in those 670s. Let's see what she can produce on the 6th and final attempt. Oh, that's out there. What's the wing gauge? White flag on the board. White flag at the wing gauge.
It's interesting. If you watch that again, it looked like she knew the ball was coming up and had to put in a short step a few steps before. She's so clever. She knows that run up. She knows the board, how to hit it. She's just a fantastic athlete, and let's wait and see if she can get the victory tonight. She's 1 centimetre off Nah with 673 being the lead jump for this evening.
662, so not improving on hers. So Nah Anang, as she talks to her coach there, her dad, Russell Stratton. You know, it's a successful trip to Perth. What more can you ask for? Exactly on that qualifier to Doha. You know, she didn't get the win, but 1 centimetre behind it. And it's Nah Anang on the runway for her final attempt here. Winner of the competition, 673, added 5 centimetres to her personal best. And she is pumped. Let's see if she can put one together, get the speed, get the jump, and get maybe 680. As Ben Offrens was saying before, 690 is what he's felt. Let's channel it down there to Nah. Can she turn that 11:43 100-metre speed into something big? And she gets the crowd support behind her. Waiting for that wind just to settle down a little bit. She doesn't want it to be illegal. Down the runway. She's put it out there. Threw a lot of speed onto that one. She's got the white, but the red, unfortunately, down the wind gauge. So, you know, it might win the competition. An illegal jump can win the competition with wind, but it can't count as a qualifier. But, again, she's going home happy. What more could she do?
I really like how those girls work together so well in terms of pushing each other, supporting each other. Because you know what? When you get it's well and good to be super competitive here in Australia, but you've got to go over and then take that to beat the rest of the world. And those girls do it brilliantly. And sometimes in a sport like long jump, you need each other to help each other because your coach might not be able to get close. There's things that happen. And so you may need your teammate to help you with where you land on the board and little things like that. So those girls, I think, are a force to be reckoned with leading into Tokyo Olympics, which is so exciting to say. You know, you can't actually not mention them without saying, well, you know what, they could medal, which is very exciting to have two people that you could actually say the word medal.
682 is the Tokyo one-off qualifier for that one. Yep. So, you know, they've got a little bit to go with, but...
Do it in Doha to get into the final.
May 1 it starts, so, you know, save them. If you're going to pop a 682, save it for May 1st.
Yeah.
You don't want to bust it out early. But on the track now, it's our women's 400-metre hurdles. When the gun goes, we will run through our field. 5 starters. Now, from the inside, it is Lily Mather, Catherine Sparrow, Alana Jukic, Anna Maria Lashinska, and in lane 7, it's Catherine Porter. Oh, we've missed someone there. Catherine Porter's missed the gun there. So down the back straight, though, it's the tall figure of Alana Jukic. 2016 Poland World Under-20 representative. Anna Maria Lashinska on the outside, though, 2018 World Under-20 champs representative. But as they come around with 150 metres to go, it's the long socks wearing Jukic. Clear over the 8th, and she's going to fight her way down the home straight. A comfortable lead here. Lashinska on her outside and Catherine Sparrow on her inside. Cast your eyes down to the BLK clock as it ticks over 52 seconds there. Just a bit of a clip there, but Jukic looking strong. Catherine Sparrow fighting hard to come to second place there. But a 59.19 with Sparrow, Lashinska, and Lily Mather will round out your 4 there. Unfortunately, we lost Catherine Porter from the gun. But Jukic, too strong, and she'll take the win here in front of a home crowd.
That was a super tough run because you could tell as Jukic hit that front straight, you could see the pain etched on her face, and she was coming up to that last hurdle, and it was a big effort to get over. She was really lucky that she carried her momentum through, and she was able to regain her composure and finish to the line quite well. But, you know, she's just come off a state champs where she won the 200, the 400, and the 4 hurdles. It was a big weekend of racing.
And she's gone clear at 4:12. Lauren Hyde cooling. She's smashing her personal best out here. What a night it is. There's her coach, Paul Burgess, one of Australia's best ever pole vaulters. She's jumped over that magic mark of 6 metres as he sees his athlete go over and clear. It's 4:12.
Those hugs are getting a workout today, aren't they?
Yeah.
Certainly are.
You know, it's a great perception. They know where that bar is. The way that she was able to, you know, move her body over that bar and clear it without even clipping it. She's got great confidence at the moment. You can tell she's confident attacking that bar, and what a beautiful vault that was.
Yeah, and obviously all her training partners there extremely happy for her.
They've got wonderful facilities here for pole vault.
Yeah. So if anyone who hasn't been here, there is actually, I believe, 6 pits out on the track in various locations, so that no matter what way the wind is going, they can jump with the tailwind. Just
the casual 6?
Casual 6.
That's what they need. They need a rotating track where you can press a button and just move it around.
some venues aren't lucky enough to even have pole vault facilities or mats, and they've got 3 sets of mats here.
There is a few places with rotating discus cages. So
of course there are. Of course you know about it, Matty.
A centre field with the discus cage in the middle.
Yep.
And whatever way the wind is going, they can turn the cage to then throw that direction. So we'll see later on in the discus. I know Matt Denny's going to be hungry for a headwind to lift the discus up and not push it down into the ground. And, you know, when you've got a cage that literally spins in any direction, you're going to find yourself a favourable wind. You need a big area, though.
Yeah.
A good 70 to 90 metre circle, so 180 metres in diameter. I don't know where you find those, maybe farmland, but it's got to be flat too.
Yeah, it has to obviously meet IAAF standard, which isn't an easy standard to meet.
Are you saying they're picky?
Well, they make it hard for a reason.
I think it's good to have like some rules in place so that every country has a regulated
No, definitely agree with that. Definitely agree with that.
Qualifiers and.
So we see our mixed men's and women's discus. Oh, sorry, javelin. We've got our markers out on the side. Looks like 63 and 83, or maybe 61, sorry, and 83, which is our qualifiers for Doha. And on the runway there is the Tassie tosser, Hamish Peacock. That is a web. That is a. If you not seen Tassie tossers at Tassie tossers,
no, I have
the
not.
throwing page.
Oh, there you go. I have.
I
not
really
seen that.
hope you're telling the truth
And
right now,
I
Manny.
wasn't aware that Hamish was a member of the Tassie Tossers.
It's fantastic. Look, he's gone to his phone. He's doubting himself.
I'm not doubting myself. I'm easing your minds.
Okay, all right. No, I like it. The Tassie tossers. Okay, he's right.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
It's a real thing,
It's a real thing.
So Hamish will be looking for that 80-metre plus throw this season. He was obviously second at the Commonwealth Games. He's a super talent. They love him in Tassie.
Well, I think he might have just pulled down on that one a little bit as it came out.
Yeah, definitely not out near the distances that he's used to throwing.
He's really stepped up over the years, getting the bronze in Glasgow, but then up to the silver on the Gold Coast. So I think Birmingham, he's going to be looking for that gold medal in 2022. And throwers, they just get, you know, they get better with age. That's the thing. It's such a technical event that you can really improve as you get older and older. As the sun starts to set, it's no longer just blasting into our eyes. Cruz Hogan now. Getting plenty of height under that one. And that's going to be just over the 65-metre mark. Like 73.10 for Peacock on his attempt. That was a replay of Hyde Cooling's previous attempt at 4.17 now is where the bar's at. She's already added 6 centimetres to her personal best on this beautiful West Australian evening. The Jandakot Airport Track Classic. Hamish just discussing the throw with his coach. It is a beautiful venue out here. If you've never been this far west of Australia, it's definitely a trip you need to take. Come in the summer. Apparently it rains all winter.
No, it doesn't rain all winter.
That's what you said.
But it just doesn't rain in the summer.
That's all I took out of it. Just rains all winter then. It's got to rain sometime. But no, it is beautiful. Very predictable, the weather in the summer.
Yep, most definitely.
Sunshine.
You know, I remember a number of years ago we had a period we went through and we had 69 days in a row over 30 degrees and 73 days in a row without rain.
Oh.
Every day you walked outside, what is it going to be? Oh, it's going to be 30, sunny and magnificent.
Oh, Hyde Cooling just not getting up there. She'll have one more attempt at 4.17. And the thing is, you think like that 69 days of sunshine, you know, 73 of no rain, you think it's going to be brown and desolate, but I couldn't believe the amount of green that you can see. It's just, it's beautiful. Wide open spaces, the grass, immaculate. It's like you're on a putting green everywhere you go.
Yeah, it's a well looked after and clean city. And if anyone hasn't been to Perth, I definitely encourage you to come over here and visit. So Lauren will have still another attempt at this 4.17, which is well above her personal best prior to this event.
Now, because she's the only one in the competition, I think, was it 5 minutes?
5 minutes between attempts, yep. She goes to sit back underneath the Coles tent there. Obviously, it was necessary earlier in the day, but obviously now the sun's gone down, it's probably not as vital.
Yeah, and hopefully, you know, hot during the day, but when you go to a track meet, you bring everything you'll ever need, no matter what the conditions are. You wear your track suits, you bring your spray jackets. Could be hot, could be cold, could rain, who knows what the conditions will be like. You need to prepare for everything, and as the sun sets here in WA, the temperature's going to drop.
It does drop a little bit, but it does hold it for a while. So I think for these early evening events, we're still going to have some nice warm conditions. As we start to get on to the 8:30, 9 o'clock sort of period, that's when it starts to cool down then. But
yeah, which is perfect for our distance events, which are later in the day.
Exactly. So this program has been developed well, and it's obviously optimal for athletic performance. And the atmosphere in here is really sort of starting to develop now. The lights have come on, the sun's gone down.
The mood lighting.
Yeah.
It's magic hour right now.
Yeah.
We're going to go down to Tamsin with your first two athletes from our women's long jump, Na Anang and Brooke Stratton.
But I will give her an introduction because she deserves one. 3 times Olympic representative, 3 times Commonwealth Games representative, 11-time national champion. Tamsin Manu is down trackside with Brooke Stratton and Na Anang.
Wow, well, I think that the ladies who deserve the biggest introduction are the 2 champions of athletics at the moment, Na Anang and Brooke Stratton. You've just done World Championships qualifiers. You've got to be pretty happy with that.
Oh, I can't ask for more. I'm so stoked. And to have Brooke qualify as well is like a dream come true.
Yeah, you guys look like you're pretty close out there. You help each other. You obviously travel the world together competing. Is it like that?
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's great having Na to compete against and also to now be at international competitions. You know, we're pretty good friends and it's nice to have, you know, that support trackside.
Okay, today, job done, box ticked, Doha World Champs.
Yeah, I'm absolutely stoked to get that qualifier out of the way. It took 5 competitions, so it's a bit of a relief and, you know, even better to have Na qualify as well.
Now, Na, you're actually topping the books, the record books this year for season's best in the 100 metres. You ran 11:43 in the state championships last week to win it. Could we see you maybe entering the 100 at the national championships as well?
Oh, we'll see. I mean, tonight might help make the decision a bit better, but yeah, I'll let you know when I know.
What about 7 metres? Do you reckon you've got one in you this season?
Yes.
Love it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, your first place getter and second place getter, but more importantly, World Championship qualifiers, they're on the plane.
What a feeling that must be to get that qualifier, you know, so early in the season with Doha at the end of September. And it's only March. We're only midway through March. And you know now you can focus on that. It's almost a whole season away. We have our high jump and long jump. High jump and javelin going on at the same time at the moment down the southern end. I'm going to throw a guess out there. Vanderlind really getting it out there. Just over that 50-metre mark. They're often racing here in our B race of the 100 metres. That was Robin Lambert in the wheelchair, Rhiannon Clark, Ella Party, Abby Maslin and Reese Pryor. And it's a big battle here between Ella Party and Abby Maslin. It's going to be Maslin, though, striding away over the later stages there in lane 9 from Ella Party, Rhiannon Clark. Crossing the line there, Reese Pryor, and now Robin Lambert. Some of our best para-athletes really showcasing their talent on the track here in the B race for the 100 metres at the Jandakot Airport Track Classic. Great to see the girls there congratulate each other. A great battle there in the later stages, but Maslin striding out and taking the win, 12.94. Rhiannon Clark, a silver medalist from the Commonwealth Games in the T38 classification. A youngster bursting on the scene as Cruz Hogan comes in for his next attempt in the Javelin. I think just getting a little bit too much height there. Just over 70 there, 70.76 for Cruz Hogan. And looks like we're onto our fourth round there with Peacock walking back to his mark. Strutting like a peacock back to his mark.
Just spreading his feathers, just getting him out there.
Hopefully he can just let that javelin fly.
As we see Hamish out there, University of Tasmania Athletics singlet, proudly representing his university.
Oh, he's let that rip, but he's really just kept it low.
Yeah, that was very low, and he steps over the mark. He wasn't really happy with that one, so...
No, that was a bullet.
That will be a red flag and an X next to his name for that attempt. As we see the results there from the women's long jump, Anang taking it out, 6.73. Brooke Stratton coming home in second, 6.72. And rounding out the top three in that event is Sinta Wardana from Western Australian, 6.03.
Getting a 6-metre jump out there in this condition.
Yeah, it's
very
good.
handy.
So she came in with a seat of 5.97. So she's gone over that magic 6 mark. As we see Gordon on the runway. Pull back and release. Good height, and it's just come down fairly flat, but she'll get a mark on that one.
Mia Gordon coming in with a seed throw of 37. And that looks like it could be further than a 37, that's for sure. It is very deceptive where these marks are and where our cameras are placed, but 39.78. Now, for those who are maybe not educated in Javelin, I'm obviously not super educated in Javelin, but it doesn't have to stick in to be counted.
No, it doesn't, but it obviously can't land flat.
No, it does need to land tip first.
Yeah.
So just like that one, as you can see, it wasn't sitting parallel. It did land tip first, and I think they will give it.
It's
they're close.
They're very, very close.
And it's a tough job out there.
It is.
If you've ever had to mark and spot on a field event, I'd say shot put's probably the easiest.
Well, a hammer. It makes a massive indent. You can't really miss it there.
But you think shot put, your movement of where you need to be is quite easy. They're only throwing 20 metres, or it depends where you are. Hammer, there's a bit of a range. Discus, the worst one to do.
Oh, definitely.
If you want to have a challenge, go and try and spot discus landing.
Yeah, because it doesn't stick into the ground. Usually it just skims. It makes a slight indent on the ground. Sometimes it doesn't even do that.
No. Look like Lara Alevsky out there at the moment.
Where with hammer, you have to dig it out.
Yeah, you've actually got
a shovel.
You got to wrench it. Wearing the number 8, obviously a late inclusion there. She was a World Junior representative this year in 2018. World Under 20, sorry. Growing up in the age of when it was just World Juniors, youth. World Under 20 championships now. Vanderlind. They're getting one out there. I always thought if I was going to be a javelin thrower, I'd get one of the spirally javelins.
Yeah, it looks cooler in the air.
Just look cool.
Although, I don't mind the purple with the fluoro tips.
Yeah, so I think that's a Nordic.
Yep.
And the spirally ones are javelins.
You're telling the story.
Oh, yeah, I am. I'm struggling. No, so in Queensland, we did get a lot of the legacy gear from the Commonwealth Games. So all the equipment, effectively, all the throwing implements, brand new javelins, brand new hammers, shots, disc-guys. That's the plural for discus, if you're not sure. Really letting rip on that one there. Just getting it over the 61-metre mark.
That was Shelf out from Western Australia. Comes in with a seat of 66.19.
And he's going to be short of that, unfortunately, for that throw.
And the other thing with the javelins, they're also rated. So with the men's, just because you have an 800 gram doesn't mean it's the same as every other 800 gram. There are ones that are rated to certain distances, and it's based on where the weight distribution through the javelin is. So there's
Cruz Hogan putting it up into the sunset.
another one that's just gone up and down. And I think he knows it as well. So Hamish getting his a little flat. Cruz getting his a little high. Yeah, they might need to have a chat to each other and sort it out and see if they can come to a happy medium between the two.
Now, for all those at home listening out, any under 17 and under 18 athletes who are thinking of, you know, extending their season, the Oceania Area Championships in 2019 will be in Townsville. The Area Championships are every 2 years. It's effectively our, you know, European Championships. It's our entire area, which is the Oceania area, Australia, New Zealand, and the Pacific Islands. So Fiji, PNG, Samoa, Tonga. The list goes on. They're having their Oceania Congress right now on the Gold Coast, which is where the headquarters are. Now, the qualifications have just been released again as Hamish Peacock's at the top of the runway for, I think, his 5th round attempt. I'll let him get through his throw.
He's off a short approach here, which is a bit interesting. It seemed he's come off.
Compared to what he was on before, and to be honest, probably one of the best ones he's put out there.
Yeah, he's definitely throwing better. Still not out near that, over that 80-metre mark, which we're used to seeing him. But it'd be interesting to have a chat to him after and find out why he may have brought that approach in. Maybe he just wasn't happy with how it was coming out of the hand on the long approach.
Needs to fix that technique a little bit, maybe losing a little bit of control on the runway. But if you saw that, I think the short approach works there. So back to this Oceania Area Championships. You might have noticed for the under-18s and the under-20s, qualifications came out quite difficult. There's 74, looks like 60 there for that attempt. Now, the qualifications have been wiped now. So for the under-20 and the under-18 age group, there is no qualifications at all. And it is only the first 2 athletes that nominate from the under 18 and under 20 age group at nationals to qualify. So your #1 goal is to nominate for Oceania Area Championships as an under 18 or an under 20 athlete, and to come as high as you can at nationals. If you come 5th and no one in front of you nominates, you're the top-ranked nominated athlete. Okay, that's all you've got to do. So nominate, #1 priority, compete awesome at the national championships in Sydney. It's basically all you can do. Okay, now for the under 18s, that is the selection event. So you do need to compete in the under 18s, but also as you get older, what is probably the first thing you do when they release selection standards? Read the selection criteria.
100%.
And if you've got any questions, don't just ask your mate. Call Athletics Australia or call your state association, because that's where the information comes from. Don't listen to rumours, because they spread fast.
They certainly do.
Call your state association or call Athletics Australia.
Call Athletics
and hear it from
Australia.
the horse's mouth.
Call Athletics Australia.
They're the ones that wrote it.
They put the selection criteria together. Because you never know. If you call your state association, you might get someone who's into coaching, has no idea.
Yeah, no idea.
But Athletics Australia, they'll be able to point you in the right direction.
Yes, that's correct.
And they'll be able to help you with that, because obviously it's important to understand what it is you need to do in order to achieve selection. And you don't want to miss out any of that sort of stuff.
Olevsky back there on the runway, trying to recapture that form that sent her to Tampere. That's a much better attempt there for Olevsky. Now, we've seen the women's long jump, you know, really just, we started the show with a bang.
We did.
Now, the men's long jump, they've been fired up this season. We saw Henry Smith do his first ever legal 8-metre jump, 8.06, down at the ACT Champs. And we saw Darcy Roper send it 8 metres 20 with the worst win you can get, a 2.1. Hopefully they can, you know, build off this and get that Doha qualifier. It is 8 metres 17. Now, Darcy is an 8-metre jumper when he was 17.
Yeah.
So there's a national under-18 record of 8.01 when he got silver at the World Youth Championships. He's medalled effectively at every World Championships he's been to. He got bronze at the under-20 Championships a year later. He's made the move back to Victoria. Now, himself, Henry Smith, who was at the 2013, I think, World Youth Championships, and Chris Matrevsky was at the Commonwealth Games. The boys training together, pushing each other along. Matrevsky had his first 8-metre season in 2018. I think we can see something huge. And then you can't forget the Queenslanders with Henry Frayne, who probably had one of the most consistent long jump seasons. 10 comps over 8 metres. PBs right at the start of the season.
Yeah, and it really sort of shows what a high-performance environment can do. As you said, Smith, Matrevsky, Roper, all in the same group, all pushing each other, all now performing. It's the same thing up with Gary Bourne in Queensland, his whole squad. Chelsea, Henry, you know, they're just all pushing each other to be better, to go further than they have before. And it is that winning culture that sort of shines through, and we're seeing it here in the performance that these athletes are putting out on the track.
They do, and they all have different levels of experience. Obviously, you know, Matrevsky's made his senior debut now at the Commonwealth Games, where Darcy's had the youth experience, Henry's had the youth experience, but now Henry's, you know, found his way back up. It's been 6 years since he competed for Australia, and now he's back up there on top. And sometimes it's the long grind that you have to go through. Yeah. People might think he's come out of nowhere. Well, he's been there.
He's been there. You know, all you got to do is check an IAAF profile and you'll understand where he's sort of come from. As we see Cruz Hogan launch another one out there. Looked like it was a little bit better. Still shy of what he is capable of. As we see a few people down there enjoying themselves in the Jandakot City VIP tent. There, trackside, got a perfect view of all the action.
Now, we won't have Henry Smith out here tonight, staying back in Melbourne, but of our jumpers, it will be Matrevsky and Roper and Jeremy Andrews. But you know what? Talking about some tailwinds, we're about to see something very special on the track shortly. Here, the men's 100 metres. 8 starters on the field. In lane 4, Seth Norman. In 5, Kian Paget. In 6, the Queensland state champion, Alex Hartman. In 7, hasn't lost a 100 metres yet this year, Jack Hale. In 8, your under-20 national record holder, Jake Doran. In 9, the best of the West, Aaron Bresland. In 10, Jacob Patelli. And in 11, Stefan Rajakovic. Now, it's interesting you look at this field of, you know, 100-metre aficionados. But Alex Harmon, he's the only one who's won a senior national title in the 100 metres. So, you know, you might look at him and think, you know what, he's more of a two-runner. But in 2016, he did the double.
Yeah,
he's won
I
4 200-metre titles in a row, 15, 16, 17, and 18. And he won he's medalled almost most of the years in the 100 metres as well. So you really can't, you know, count him out.
No, he's so consistent with it. And the big thing for him is how he gets away at the start, because he's such a big guy and it takes him a while to get going. As we go back to the jab, that is Hamish Peacock.
On the Coles replay there, just sending it out again. And I think in his final attempt, we'll keep an eye on that. Looks like just a tick under 76 metres, I think. 75.95.
So, going back to Hartman, the consistencies that he's shown over the years, it plays so well, and he's one of those ones you can sort of always count on when it matters. He comes through with.
He runs himself into shape too. That's the kind of athlete he is. You know, the start of the season, pretty sure he did a Shield meet in Queensland. It was like 21.3. On the weekend, he ran 20.44, albeit a 3.3. But you give me a 3.3, I'm not running 20.44.
No one is.
Certainly not. Season best over the 100 metres when he went 10.35 in the semi-final.
But the big thing I'm excited about is how healthy Australian sprinting is right now, especially within the men's 100 metres. There's just so many around that 10.1 to 10.3 sort of mark, and they're all pushing each other to go faster and faster and faster. And they're just coming along in leaps and bounds. And
you look at the guys that aren't here. Rowan Browning, he's going to feature in the 200 metres this year after his 400 at Sydney Track Classic. Trey Williams just, working his way back up into a bit of shape. And we've got these guys running like Holdsworth, Despard and Abu Ghanaba knocking on that 10.4 door this year.
Definitely.
So there's enough for an A and a B team to really push each other along if we see a 4x1 a little bit later. But look at this. It is magic hour here for the Jandakot Airport Track Classic. I think you need to keep your eyes on the BLK clock for this 100 metres. I think we might see something fast. 10.10 is what we want to see for the official time with the wind. 1.9, just to make sure, keep it under. As we stand up here, the wind really picks up right now.
Yeah, so I've just been watching the flag out on the Jav sector, and every now and then it does pick up a little bit and then it goes down. So hopefully at the point in this race, the wind just dies down a little bit. Let's see if we can sneak this under the legal 2.0 wind. It would be beautiful to see.
Oh, Hartman there, stayed in the blocks, didn't move at all. Doran probably happy with that. He was out.
Yeah.
He was off and away, but not sure what happened in the blocks there. Hartman, not a move at all. We'll have to wait and see.
That's interesting because, and it's unfortunate because it's not like it's a initial false start where the athletes may have taken a few steps. These guys have run out a good 10, 15 minutes before they've been called back, and that's a critical part of the race. Oh, so there was a little bit of initial movement maybe before the gun, so it may have caused Hartman to sort of just sit in the blocks a little bit.
So I think we might, you know, these athletes will probably sit around for maybe another 5 minutes or so, give them a bit of a chance, because unlike Hartman, they all ran 50 metres and hard. So, you know, it is going to be interesting. You can see Hale and Dawn really taking their time to get back. You know what? You're not going to tell me how long I'm going to take to get back.
No. But it is interesting that Hartman didn't even move. Usually there's some sort of reaction, some sort of movement to the gun, but it wasn't there. So it'll be interesting to see what the officials call this. I'm assuming an unfair start. I don't know.
I'm not sure if it's a
unsteady.
speaker, because normally there's one set of speakers behind each blocks, but it looks like we've just got a megaphone at the end there. So didn't see a green or anything. I'm assuming everything's okay.
And there was no real rest time between.
No. So thankfully, Doran and Hale walked back so slow.
Yeah. How is that going to play here in the men's 100 metres? Will that be a telling factor?
A fair start there. Hale real happy with his start. Doran now running well. Hartman on his inside and Bresnan, but it's Doran out in front. Here comes Jack Hale. The top speed of Hale's ridiculous. He's flying over the line. The clock 10:19. That could rewrite his PB from 2016. He does have a personal best of 10:21 when he set the under-20 national record in Mannheim. I think I heard 1.2 for the wind. 1.6?
Yep. 1.6.
So we'll wait until the official time. The clock does say 10:19, but it can go down.
And he didn't really get the start either. Doran blew him out of the blocks, and halfway down, Doran, you'd say, is in the lead, but that's when Jack just starts to open up and power away. Good top speed in the second half of his race. And imagine if he got the start, because he got the start in the first one.
Yeah, the 10:23 on a wet Canberra track. That was the start he's been needing every year. 10:19. I'm still waiting for that official time to tick over on our clock, but what a run.
Yeah, it was lightning. And it's one of those things you hate to say, but you go, what could have been in that first one? Because the difference in start was astronomical. Didn't get away in that second one, but was really good. As we cut down to tens, and she's with Jack now.
Finally broken your personal best. Got to be happy with that.
Mate, I'm absolutely wrapped. It's been almost 2.5 years now, so 10:20 to beat it by 0.01. I'm so happy.
That's okay. It's still doing a personal best. Talk us through the race. We are happy with the start. It looked like Doran got just out on you just a little bit.
That's what we've been working on. I mean, if I can nail that start, it's going to be a good race, and next week's going to be an awesome race with all the Japanese guys on it, and they'll definitely push to some quick times.
Yeah, definitely. It looked like the back end of your race is going fantastically. You and your coach, Adam Larkham, have got to be pretty happy with how that bit's going.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the bulk mass of our work. It's just been top end, and now we're really trying to put some work in that first 20.
And then goal next week, win the race, of course, and then a qualifier.
Of course, 10 ends in reach. Just got to put a race together, and I think it's on.
I reckon you're going to nail that start. Well, ladies and gentlemen, your winner of the 100 metres, Jack Hale.
Yeah, I think if he nails that start, the 10:10 is there for the taking. Media duties now straight away for Hale.
That's what happens when you're a superstar.
Yeah. Win races, sign autographs.
Talk to media.
Winners have parties, losers have meetings. That's a saying I've heard.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know why you're having a meeting for losing.
Yeah, because you've got to talk about trying to win.
Okay.
I don't know. You're not going to have a party.
Why not?
It's a sad party.
Oh, I spot Kylie Wheeler in the crowd there. Former champion heptathlete here in Western Australia. Went to a number of world-class events. As we see the men's long jump.
So we've got 11 athletes out there in the field. There's Braden Davidson, the Rio Paralympic gold medalist in this event. T36 athlete. And he's going to really be sending it out there. But it looks like our lineup, it's when you start getting down the list. Down there to Liam Adcock. Jeremy Andrews up next. Former Western Australians moved away to Queensland to train with Gary Bourne. He just saw stablemate Nang get that qualifier. Jump 770 at the Queensland Champs. I know he's got a big one ready to go. Chris Matrevsky there. Second last in the lineup. And Darcy Roper, the longest jump this year, wind out of the equation there. And I think he's been looking good. He won the Victorian Championships, 786, and a couple of big fouls down there at Lakeside. And you know what? I'll be keeping an eye on him to really get one out. There must be something with this squad just wearing grey singlets. You know, it's the Johnny Boaz. That is the coach of these guys. And just with the grey.
Maybe it's a squad thing.
Yeah, squad grey.
You see a lot of more squad outfits these days.
You do.
I don't remember seeing that at top meets that you saw squad outfits. And there's your results there. So it looks like it was rounded up to 10.20. There should be a 0 on the end of that one.
So still a PB for Hale.
Still a PB, but the 19 would have been nice.
Well, especially considering good rival and friend Rowan Browning's PB is 10.19.
Ooh.
So now Rowan's got one up on him still. You know what? Oh, when I did my 10.19, it stayed 10.19. I'm sure he's probably saying that right now in a text for him to read after they both race, you know, later on. But we'll see Rowan in the 200. Jack's just taking the win there.
It'll be interesting to see how the dynamic goes between those two. I'm sure they'll have a cheeky word to each other.
Oh, they won't. They won't be able to help themselves.
As we see the runners come out for the men's B 800 metres here. So this is the Venues West men's 800B final.
Well, this is going to be good because it's obviously going to show us maybe what the conditions are doing out there. And we're obviously very excited for the last event of this evening. You've got to stick around for that one because it's going to be a cracker of a race. We've got a top-class, world-class field.
If there was ever an event that we could use the word cracker on,
yes,
it is that 800.
I do like to throw cracker out there a bit. I've got to admit, but this is definitely.
Get a bit flippant with it sometimes.
I know. I'm sorry.
But if there was ever a moment that was appropriate to use it,
it
is for that 800 because I'm going to say it. I reckon this 800, in terms of the depth, the quality, and the build-up, the excitement, it is the #1 event of the season.
Yeah, and I mean, they're talking fast times too. They're talking sub 144. They're talking about setting up at 49.5. So you're going to want to make sure that the conditions are quite good because you've got to be relaxed. But 49.5 is pretty quick, you know. We're talking about the sort of paces that Rhodesia was going through at the Olympics to break the world record. So they're really looking for that fast time. I mean, if they can hit that 49.5 and keep that third 200, which is the hard part of this Perth track, is often hard to hold that pace through that third 200. They've got the luxury, though, of having each other to race. So they won't be out there on their own unless one of them's having an absolute blinder. But the quality's there. So fingers crossed they can hold that pace and then really kick on for a fast time. But this is the B race, and, you know, the quality of our field in the A race has kicked some of those guys who you would think would make A races back into that B final. One of them is Stephen Nucky, who boasts a top PB of 1:48.77. He ran at the Sir Peter Snell Wanganui Mile to finish third recently, which, you know, his PB is 1:47.2, I think, about, but it shows that he's getting back into those sort of times. There he is on the screen. So he's probably one of the form athletes, the one to watch. You've got, I think, Luke Shaw. He had a really good 400 metres in the WA State Champs. He finished second with a 48.9, so he's got some nice speed, which he may be able to tag into Stephen for a little while and be able to push that pace and make sure that we get another quick time in the B final.
And that is the big thing with 800s, especially if looking at that race later tonight and how fast they want to go. The big thing, especially with Australia, sometimes, like, to go fast, you do sort of need a pace, and it's hard to find someone who can actually do that.
Oh, yep.
So we'll run through your lineup once they get underway here. So from the inside, Goddard, Dutton, Bennett, Midgley, Shaw, Nucky, May, Collingridge, Rayner, and Cork. As we see them come around through the first 100 metres, it is Bennett who will assume the lead as he goes down the back straight. Nucky will try and tuck in behind him there as we see Collingridge just on his outside, the tall figure from Western Australia.
Well, that's Harry May in third, who actually was in the A race in Sydney. So he's fallen back into the B race. He's another quality athlete who, you know what, sometimes some of these athletes, if you're going to be hitting the pace at 49.5, it might suit them better to be in this field as they're trying to find their feet. 49.5 is quite fast for some of these athletes. So the B race is still quality. They're going to hit that bell at a decent clip still, and they can run some fast times off this.
So it is Shaw off the front at the moment. Nucky just behind him. So just a tick over 54 seconds on the BLK clock as they come through. They get the bell. There was 400 to go as they make their way onto the back straight for the second time this evening. It's Shaw off the front. Nucky just in behind him, followed by May and Collingridge. 250 metres to run.
And Nucky did this in Wanganui the other day, racing in New Zealand. He pushed really hard to the 600. He just lost his legs a little bit in the front straight. So we're going to see if he can hold on. The race fitness will be coming now that he's had a few races under his belt. We know that he's a quality athlete with 147. He's a beautiful mover. Another Justin Rinaldi coached athlete, and he comes into the front straight with a good lead.
Yeah, it is Nucky off the front at the moment. He's opened up a nice little lead here. I think it's going to be a little bit much for the others to catch him. He was the class athlete in this field, and he's going to come down to the line, and he'll take the win. The battle's on for second. Collingridge will take that one just in front of May and Shaw, but it was Nucky, 1:48.38 unofficially. So that's getting close down to PB territory for Nucky. So
it is.
As you said before, it was going to tell us whether the conditions are out there are good or not, and it seems like they are.
Well, it's a season's best for Nucky, so it shows that he's coming into form at the right time of the season. He's still got a little bit wooden there in the last 30, 40 metres of the race, but that is okay because he'd done the work early. He'd made the break and he had pushed really hard from 600 to 700, came into the front straight with that nice buffer and was able to take the win. And hopefully that means that next race he'll be pushed back up into that A race so that he can really start to, you know, get into that train and take some scalps in the final 100, 200 metres of the race.
But again, it's such a beautiful thing that we have someone who has the ability to run that 48 low, making it into a B race.
I know, isn't that
That's
just
only good
amazing?
enough for a B race.
That is amazing. I mean, we're talking about somebody with a 1:47.2 PB, and he would have been really upset to be in the B race in Sydney. And I thought he ran quite well. He just got very tired because he'd pushed the pace early in that race early in the season. But that race shows that after coming back from New Zealand, he's done the hard yards. 800 is a lot about race fitness, and that's where it's going to be interesting later in the night to see how Luke Matthews goes because he hasn't raced since he was injured last year. We know he's a quality racer, but 49.5 is a big ask on your first race.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to see. Luke's a very smart racer. I don't think if Joey and Pete want to go off at that sort of pace through the first 400 metres, I don't think we're going to see Luke try and trail them behind.
Oh, he is a really smart racer.
He'll sit back where he knows he's comfortable and work his way through the field and then watch for him to come home late.
Well, it's that argument where who's the best 800-metre runner in the country at the moment. Deng's got the best personal best, but Luke Matthews has the best head-to-head record. He's been winning races. He wins when it counts. He's got the Commonwealth Games medal and he's got the national titles. For me, I love races.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And if we think back to that race that really sort of set Joey off, who was the athlete that beat him in that race to make it through to the A final at trials? It was Luke Matthews. So Luke knows Joey very, very well. And here he is again. They're going to meet. It's probably, I think it's the first time they've met since that race.
Well, no, since the Com Games final.
Since the Com Games final. But out here, it's a different sort of dynamic. You haven't got other top runners. It's these two going head to head.
Yeah.
Now, just as we, collect your thoughts, we'll cut to a quick ad break. We'll be back with plenty more here at the Jandakot Airport Track Classic.
To celebrate the partnership, we're donating millions of bananas to Aussie athletes and providing equipment grants to little athletic centres across the country. They're just some of the ways that we're helping support Australian athletes run, jump, throw this season. Good things are happening at Coles.
You didn't miss anything here in Perth. Young fella still at the top of the runway. Little low. Getting one clear. White flags. White flags all round in this long jump. Nicholas Van Gelder now wearing the all white of Sydney University. Top of the runway as Liam Adcock makes his way back. So 11 athletes in this field, 3 attempts. We should go top 8. We'll get 3 more. Van Gelder's got a big jump under his belt. He has a big personal best.
It's an interesting field, this men's long jump. We talked before about how Na's got amazing speed in the 100 metres. There's a few of the athletes whose 100-metre speed probably needs to be a little better, but they've still got great jumps. So that says that they've got good potential of improvement. Liam Adcock's probably one of those athletes who, when he works on his 100 speed, he could push towards that 8-metre jump. Yeah,
790, I think, back in 2017.
Yep.
Was it the Queensland State Championships? Probably one of the best long jump competitions I've seen at the State Championships, with Shemaiah James coming second with 788.
Oh.
There's Van Gelder there, getting one out. There's our marks down on, not sure what the 2 marks are. I know one of them's at least 8:17, the Doha qualifier.
As you can see, the pole vaulters just warming up in the background there. They'll get underway shortly in the men's event.
And that's another one of those events where there's that head-to-head battle that we're really fascinated by, that's pushing themselves to better competitions and good personal best. When you've got Armstrong and Carruthers, who, the beauty of them, and Curtis Marshall as well. I think it was at this track where there was an under-20 nationals where they were vying off for world junior spots, and only, 3 positions don't go into 2. So they're so used to competing against each other, and they've come through the ranks. It's like our men's 100 boys. They race each other. They've got used to competition. They've got used to being against people who are around their levels, and it's been really good for their competition development. So we've got Carruthers and Armstrong going again tonight, and they've had great battles in the past, and there's no doubt there's going to be another good battle tonight, and hopefully we can see one of them or both of them get over that 560.
Yeah, definitely. And the other one I'm looking forward to seeing is Sasha Zoya. Now, we haven't seen Sasha at a national level meet since he no-hided at the Australian All-Schools. So I'll be interested to see how he's been going over the summer and where he's sort of at. So he's one of those athletes that just is such a talent. And when you have an athlete like that, you can have an explosion of performance. It just comes out of nowhere. Next, 1 minute he's jumping 5 meters. Next, he's jumping 570.
Yep.
It can just happen like that because of the talent that he does have. So the conditions, the women showed that the conditions are good here.
Yep.
So what can these 2 athletes go, and what can, obviously, Carruthers and also the other athletes out there, what can they pull Zoya through to jump?
Yep.
Because, as you know, when you're around high-quality performers, you perform
Yep.
at a high quality
Well,
as well.
you have to. I think I always go back to that example of the women's 400 when you had Kathy Freeman running. You know, Kathy Freeman ran 48.63 to get a silver at the Atlanta Olympics, and then she went to 2000. She obviously had heaps more sub-50s under her belt. The rest of the field had to lift so much. I think there was 7 girls under 52 seconds that year. So we're not talking about just, you know, A qualifiers are missing 400-metre spots because the quality was so good.
Yeah. As we see Jeremy Stixie Andrews on the runway currently. Before he moved over to Queensland to be coached by Gary Bourne, he was coached by Ryan Purcell, a former national junior hurdler. Does coach Brianna Behan. So he has a good little stable, the Hurdle High Performance stable. As we see Jeremy go big. And that looks like that's out over the 7-metre mark, and he gets the white flag.
Wow.
So he looks...
got a lot of fans here. He's been given 2 whites.
This is big.
As we wait for the call. So it sounds like 7.48 if we've heard correctly. Yep, that's it. So 7.48 there.
It looked bigger, didn't it?
So... As we see Matrevsky onto the runway now. Just holds the hands out to the side, just wants to see what that wind is doing, where it's at.
It's a classic long jumper stance.
It is. Which way it's blowing as he gets ready. He takes off down the runway, head down, charges through, good speed on the runway.
The run-up's just not quite right, is it? Just yet.
He gets the white flag, but that looks like that may not be as far as Andrews on that one.
He just looked like he had to put in a few short ones to make sure that he hit the board. But Matrevsky's one of those athletes who has really good speed. He's a quality athlete, isn't he? I mean,
he's run some fast too.
He's almost broken 21 seconds for the 200, which is phenomenal. Yeah. You can see it on the runway, though. You can tell that he's a beautiful-looking athlete. Like, he runs tall, and he has that ability where you think you could throw him into the, you know, the men's sprints, a men's 400 even. He's got that sort of build where he looks like he would run it really well. Now, Roper was on the runway warming up before, and I was trackside, and he is striking that ground beautifully. He is in great shape.
There's another one that's fast. Like, he could do some special things. He's run 10.50, 10.58. Over the 100 metres.
And he's still really young.
Yeah.
So, you know, if he focused on 100 and worked on his speed, I mean, look out.
Well, he's another long jumper that could feature in a 4x1 in the future. But obviously, you know, long jump, we do have a lot stronger pedigree in the long.
And he's still got that personal best of 8:01 from the World Youths, which was one of the most amazing competitions in that long jump pit that day.
Oh, that is big.
Quality. It's great having him back out there too, isn't it, in that sort of form. He showed such good potential as a junior, and he's gone down to Victoria and he's training with Johnny Boas, who, goodness me, isn't Johnny Boas just the man when it comes to long jumps through the eras? He's a very, very talented coach, and they love him in the squad down there. They have a lot of fun, the lads training down there in Melbourne. What do you reckon, Matt?
So I'm going 7.68.
Oh.
That's my guess. 7.88.
Is that what you meant? 88.
No, I didn't, but I'll take it. I'll take it. If you want to play like that, I'm happy to play.
I didn't get to see the flag down the runway, but if so, legal season's best for Roper.
Yeah, but he has a big, you know, that 8.20, it was so close to being legal, the plus 2.1. You know that he's got a really big jump there.
It gives me shivers. It's so annoying. Local WA athlete up next. I'm pretty sure he went 6.92 on his first round attempt. I didn't enter a seed mark, so maybe he can crack that 7 metres for the first time. Just probably sitting back a little bit there. Fortunately getting a foul. As we head to the Coles replay. Not going to improve, obviously, on his first round attempt without being a foul. As he sits down there with his, looks like his dad.
What was the ground announcer calling him over the announcer?
The Greek god.
The Greek god. That's his nickname here in WA.
So that is Jacob Christianopoulos. Wesley Salisbury on the runway now. I'm fairly sure a multi-eventer, Wesley Salisbury, I think. So featuring in this long jump, usually the second event of the decathlon. You might hear some crumpling in the background. We are pretty much held together by lollies here on the live stream, so.
Lollies purchased through Coles. We went to Coles Claremont today to purchase our lollies.
Really hitting the board hard there, Salisbury. Men's pole vault just getting into its final stages of warm-up. Braden Davidson next up, the 2016 Paralympic gold medalist.
Waiting for the right wind. This track, it really makes a difference because you do get gusts. It's Curtis Marshall, I think, behind those leg cross down there on the screen, sitting next to Johnny Stephenson.
Front row tickets.
There you go. It's good to see Johnny out here back in the West. He hasn't been out in the West for a while.
Obviously part of that 4x4 quartet that won that Olympic medal in 2004.
Red flag, unfortunately, there for Davidson, shaking his head, just not happy with it. South Australian Institute of Sport athlete, Sassy. South Australian Sports Institute, I apologise.
It's a bit of a tongue twister,
Sassy.
isn't it? There we go, Sassy.
Having a chat to Gary Bourne. Next up, David Newburn. And he'll be followed by Jacob Knock and Mackenzie Littlelow.
Time now to introduce competitors for the Open Men's Pole Vault. A terrific lineup is the
This is almost like the history of the Western Australian Institute of Sport here when we go through our uniforms.
5 metres 40. Please welcome Stephen Clough.
Stephen Clough there,
Also from Western Australia,
Continental Cup representative.
He was.
2018. Angus Armstrong, former New South Wales athlete, now has made his way west. And the next two in rowing bodysuits, as we found out. Western Australian Institute of Sport rowing bodysuits. Declan Carruthers, South Australian, who's made his way west. And the youngster.
He has more gold in the junior ranks than Rio Tinto from Western Australia, Sasha Zoya.
Introduced as, I think, what is it?
More gold.
More golds than Rio Tinto.
Yeah.
More golds in the West than Rio Tinto. Well, I tell you what, that's a laid-back quartet, isn't it?
That's just a training session.
I know, look at them. Happy snaps before they compete. Before they hurl themselves up, hopefully, over 560.
I think the bar's going to start at 5 metres too, so...
They're not mucking around, are they?
So 571, that's the qualifier for Doha.
Well, and Carruthers has done a PB at this track this year of 560, so we know that he's there or thereabouts. But Armstrong and him have such good battles. It's just going to be interesting if they can push each other. You know, you throw Zoya into that mix. It's one of those things, if they forget about the qualifier and just focus on winning, hopefully they push each other up to some good heights. It's a shame we don't have Curtis Marshall out there. Obviously, he's been our superstar in this event since Steve Hooker retired. You know, it's an event where we've had such good athletes over the time. You know, when we had Dmitry Markov getting medals at World Championships in 2001 in Edmonton, I think.
Yeah.
Yep, and then
6:05.
Yep, I mean, amazing vaulters. We've got World Junior medalists, gold medalists, and then Steve Hooker, of course, who can forget the way that he went about taking that gold medal in 2008. Geez, heart palpitations watching him clear all those heights on the way to that goal. But it was just one of those events where the whole crowd was drawn into watching. And I think if you were there or if you watched it live, you'll never forget how Steve went about that and took that gold. But, I mean, we talk about Curtis Marshall as being a big chance for a medal in Tokyo. I mean, it's a lot of pressure to put on the young lad, but he's that good.
Well, he's already got the Doha qualifier. Did his little indoor stint. Hooked himself a new personal best. And with pole vault, indoor performances count as outdoor performances.
Which is interesting. But, I mean, you've still got to hurl your body up that high and do it. But obviously, it is very different on the boards because you do take out those variables of the weather. But it's just whether the boards...
Well, that's a massive clearance there from Armstrong.
Clearance. I think that signals his intentions for tonight, doesn't it?
Very comfortable. So, yeah, the highest jump outdoors by an Australian is 6:05 from Dmitry Markov, but Hooker's 6:06 indoors.
Yep. I don't...
The world record by Lavillenie indoors, beating Bubka's outdoor best as well.
We talk about Hale taking just the .01 off his PB. Bubka, what about him? Didn't he just milk it for all it was worth, getting
I think
world
it's
record?
something with pole vault. Isabel even did the same thing. You get a world record bonus every time I get it. I'm just going to go up by 1 centimetre every time.
I know.
Imagine if Bolt could just decide to run 969, 968, 967.
Dip now.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. But Nicholas Van Gelder on the runway now, but we're going back to Zoya. 5 metres the bar is at. Bit of chewing gum in the mouth as well.
Yeah, I think
Stay relaxed.
a couple of them had the chewing gum in their mouth.
Wow, he's just moved to another level, hasn't he?
Hope their mums aren't watching, because their mums would be worried about that choking. Like, I would have been out there. Careful.
So the under-18 national record is 5:35.
Yep.
Paul Burgess. So he did have the under-20 record until Curtis took it. And now, 5:35, that's in danger.
It certainly is. And
you're looking at that attempt, that bar was at 5 metres.
Whew.
He looked really good, didn't he? That was a beautiful vault. I know we're still at heights that they know that they can comfortably clear, but it's the way that they're doing it. You know, they're not just scraping over. They're really clearing these heights well. This is looking good, boys, to being a really good competition tonight.
It's one of those things. You've got Alex Parnov and Paul Burgess guiding you through this. They're the ones working with you day on day to get you up to these sorts of heights. And you can't really ask for a better sort of environment and leadership and guidance than those two people.
And you also have to pay respect to their coaches, the Curtis and Armstrong coaches that got them to the point that took them to such great levels before they've moved across to these great facilities.
I think Paul Burgess has actually taken over Liz Parnov's coaching now. So it's not actually Alex that coaches her anymore. As you see Liam Adcock get out his second round attempt. Not super happy with that one. But, yeah, so now Paul's taken the lead for Liz. And, it's worked for her. She's producing PBs.
Well, sometimes you need a change. And I'm guessing, because Liz started her pole vaulting career very young, because obviously her big sister was doing it. And so she would have been around the track and around athletics for such a long time that sometimes you get a little bit you know, you need that change just to refresh some ideas, have some more enthusiasm when you get down to training. And yeah, it's not necessarily a bad thing that you've left an old coach. It might just be that you've both got to the point where you know that the change needs to happen for you to make that next step.
Well, I've never been coached by my parents, but it would be difficult. Where does the line stop when it becomes your father to your coach as well?
Well, my brother coached me, and I loved it. Like, I really thought it was good.
But when you went home from training, did you go home?
Well, yeah, no, there was, I mean, we obviously had family gatherings. We still talked. But the thing is, I think, and, you know, my dad could have coached as well because he was an Olympic
That's very
swimmer.
true, yeah.
And I still found that when I went down to a training track, I used to love it when my dad could come and watch. I think it's all about respect with your coaches. If you find somebody that you respect and that you listen to, that's when you know you've got a good coach-athlete relationship. It's when that respect falters and you start to doubt what they're saying to you that you know that you have to take that step back and make the move. And it's just being able to do that in the right way. It happens in athlete-coaches relationships. It's not necessarily because the coach isn't a good coach. You just, the relationship between the athlete and coach just gets to that crossroad and the change needs to be made.
As we see Jeremy Andrews back on the runway again for another attempt. Good speed. Oh, takes off well behind the board.
A mile behind the board then.
And just sits back on the landing there.
It's just that thing about the running technique on that runway. You still want to keep it smooth and relaxed and not to have too much rocking. You've got to try and keep that center of gravity and the core nice and still so that when you do hit that board for that pop off, like you just pop up, you can just keep those hips nice and high. And if you're already running low, it's harder to get those hips up when the board comes. Speaking of that, Matreski, who we've just already said is a beautiful mover, so we'll see if he can get one onto the board and keep those hips nice and high.
Yeah, 7:39, his first round attempt. We'll see what he can produce, but Roper, I'm sure he'll want to... We talked about Hale having his PB from 2016. Roper's had his long jump PB since 2015. As a young 17-year-old Armstrong, 5:15, the bar.
Oh.
And I think just the uprights there, he took it with his knees, looks at the hands. You might notice that black hands, lighter fluid.
Yep. Lighter fluid.
Lighter fluid, that's what's on their hands. So it's always difficult to travel with pole vaulters because they're already carrying lighter fluid everywhere and, you know, flying, lighter fluid.
And explain why they have lighter fluid on their hands.
It just helps with the grip.
Yeah, it helps with the grip. It's just like a product fluid they can put on the hands, makes it super, super sticky.
Yep.
Never, ever shake the hand of a pole vaulter because you'll come away with sticky, lighter fluid all over your hand.
I don't say lighter fluid and just think, oh, sticky.
No, you don't.
No, I just think of flames.
Yeah.
I don't understand how it's a sticky substance.
I don't know.
At what point is someone trying
when did that occur the first time?
I don't know why. I don't know why. When I think of lighter fluid, I think of something like a can of Glen 20. And if I spray it on my hand, nothing sticky comes. I don't know. That's what I get. When I think lighter fluid,
I
think
to
some
Glen
sort of
20.
Some sort of product like that.
Lighter fluid, Glen 20.
Glen 20, which you can pick up from Coles.
Just moving
some
away
sort of
from him in case
spray.
it's catchy.
Oh, that was a massive clearance there from Carruthers. Now, this is the one thing that does frustrate me with pole vault. That could have been a 570. But he only gets what the bar is.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've spoken about this before. If we had some
every
sort of
time
laser level
Oh, we'll
bar.
keep referencing it until it happens, until there's like a laser level system with smoke screens and...
It would make pole vaulting a short event if you had 6 attempts.
Yep.
Just to see how high you could get.
Actually, when we were, experiencing the beautiful city of Perth today, we'll get back to that after Darcy Roper pops out his second round attempt. Oh, I think he's just felt that one on the board there. He was given the white flag, so I'm not sure what caused him to pull up. But he really hit the board hard then. But we were discussing maybe we were looking around the city and, thinking of, you might have seen in Bunbury only a few weeks ago, the street pole vault meet with a lot of these athletes competing. Sasha Zoya, one of them, out there. Just before the New Zealand National Championships, there was an outdoor pole vault. It's one of the great street meet events. So we were pretty much walking around the streets thinking, where could we do pole vault?
Yeah. We found some prime locations. And we see Zoya go well clear on that one.
He's feeling hot tonight.
So easy clearance at 5:15.
I think Burgess should be, I think he might have already scribbled his name out of the record books.
He may have. He may have called Rhonda and gone, Rhonda, don't worry about it. Just take me out now. Just write Sasha Zoya's name in there.
For anyone at home, Rhonda Jenkins is the Athletics Australia records officer. Not just calling any old Rhonda in the Yellow Pages. For those at home, Yellow Pages is a book of phone numbers if anyone hasn't seen a Yellow Pages in quite some time.
Yeah, the younger generation.
They're probably a
like,
bit...
What is the Yellow Pages?
So, Histronopoulos, also known as the Greek god, back on the runway again. So, he's a national junior medalist, and he's out here tackling it with the best in Australia. What's he got on this one?
Better jump there. It was a foul on his second attempt. Now, this is the thing where an event like this, we see Stephen Clough there go clear at 5:15. Wasn't happy with his 5-metre miss, so he's like, you know what, bump it up to 5:15. But an event like this where there are spots available for an athlete to join in the start list with like athletes of the calibre of Darcy Roper and Matrevsky.
Yep.
There's a spot, you know, for the Greek god to join in. And, you know, Perth Track Classic, the Jandakot Airport Track Classic's one of those events where, you know, there usually is a couple of lanes for the locals to you know, get involved and absorb. So just like the 100 we had, Doran, Hale, and all these athletes roll out, as well as a couple of locals.
As we see the women being introduced for the 800 metres here tonight. First one coming out was Keely Waters. That's Gabrielle Toth, the West Australian. A set of 2:14 here in this one. There's Angie Ross. So she'll be running with hit number 3. Front runner athlete. So number 4, Jasmine Pugh, wearing the UWA colours, one of WA's strongest clubs here. And there's Bernadette Williams. So she's been on fire this summer. She's had some great results around the country, ran Hunter, also Sydney, featured prominently in the 1,500 metres over there. So we'll see her over the 800 metre distance here tonight. She'll be one to watch in this one. So that is Kayla van der Linden.
I'm really looking forward to seeing her run. She won the under-16 WA State Champs in 2:09.34 by over 10 seconds. And you know who was in second? Annie Gilchrist.
Oh.
Adam Gilchrist's daughter runs the 800s here, yeah.
There you go. There's Laura Stump.
What's she like opening the bat?
She's good behind the.
So the next one's an interesting one. This is Emma Philippe. So former pole vaulter, used to train with Alex Parnov. Now has transitioned over to 800 metres, running with Lynn Foreman, and she's going great guns at the moment.
Yeah, it's an interesting transition. I don't think that's happened before, but
no.
Tested the waters with the 400 hurdles for a little bit as well.
Yep.
So that's Chuling. As we see Morgan Mitchell
in the
one piece out here again, featuring in the 800 metres. So we've seen her a couple of times in the 800s. She's come away with a 2:03 so far this season. Now, we'll see how she goes out there tonight. Obviously, we know the conditions are good. So I think we could see something pretty fast from her. And then here we come with the Georgia Griffith. Definitely the class athlete, is the fastest in the field. So
fastest this year.
How fast can she go tonight? How fast can Mitchell go as well? I think we could see her go quicker than the 2:03.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Both of the ladies in this race have only got season's best this year of 55 seconds over the 400, which as an 800 runner, you would like to see that closer to the 53 second, because if you get to Europe and they take you through in 56 seconds, got a big ass to be trying to hold that speed. So I'm hoping that as we get along the season, Morgan will try and push that speed back to the 51 because we know that she's got great 400 speed. She just doesn't have it right now. And maybe that's just because Liz is up the kilometres and miles maybe a little bit too much. She probably has a grand plan of when she's going to bring that speed back in, but I would like to see all these ladies working on their 400 speed because I think that it really does help with the 800 metres.
Oh, it really does, and it's the same thing as in a 400 with the 200s.
Yeah.
200 speed is critical because if you can't go through the first 200 fast enough, then it's hard to really be competitive, especially on the international stage.
Yeah. A little bit of unsteady in the outside lanes there in lane 7. It's always a nerve-wracking time when they sort of say on your marks and you know you've got 2 laps of pain ahead of you. But Georgia looked fantastic in Sydney. She looked like she'd turned her form around at the 800 and she was starting to head in that right direction.
So away here from the inside, Waters, Toth, Ross, Pugh, Williams, Griffith, Mitchell, Van der Linden, Stump, Philippe and Chulang. As we see them make their way through the first 100 metres, and it is Morgan Mitchell who sets herself at the front of this field. Bernadette Williams will tuck in behind her, as will Georgia Griffith, as they go through the first 150 metres in this 800, as Georgia Griffith goes up to the shoulder of Mitchell. Those 2 athletes, obviously the class athletes in this field, and as rightfully so, they're dictating the pace currently here in this women's 800 metres.
It's interesting. It was not a very smooth start by either girls. They kind of looked like I mean, Morgan used her speed early to get out, but then they really put the brakes on. Then Georgia looked like she inserted some speed down the back straight to make sure that she could get onto Morgan's shoulders. But they look like they've really put the brakes on and slowed it down. But they still look smooth, and I think if they can hit that bell as close to 60 as possible, then they can work together to hopefully get a fast time.
Yeah, so as they go through the bell, 400 metres to go, it is Morgan Mitchell on the inside, just a half a step behind hers, Georgia Griffith. Then it is Williams and Van der Linden. These 4 athletes, Emma Felipe, they're probably good 30 metres back, but 300 metres to go down the back straight. It's still Mitchell, Griffiths, Williams and Van der Linden. No one's made a move yet. The 250 metres to go, shoulder to shoulder, Griffith and Mitchell.
As they come into the 200 metres to go, it's still Mitchell holding the slight edge over Griffith. As they work their way around the bend, Griffith trying to fight back now. She starts to make a little bit of the move. She goes up to the shoulder of Mitchell as they come around the bend into the straight. These 2 neck and neck, side by side, as they come in, 100 metres to run. This is anyone's race. Griffith starts to move away now. Mitchell tries to go with her, but it looks like Griffith is going to be too strong here in this 800 metres. She's starting to run away from this field, and she's going to take the win here. Let's look at the clock. 2:03 flat, unofficial. And look just behind in 4th place, Van der Linden. We'll have to wait for that time.
She'd only be 14 or 15, and I reckon she's run close to 2:06, 2:07, which is a fantastic race. But Williams looked like she also may have pushed on her personal best as well. It was a great run in 3rd and 4th. Now, Morgan and Griffith looked like they raced each other a lot then, so hence the time got lost in that first, from 200 to 400, the time dropped to over 60 seconds. And then Morgan really has been pushing that 400 to 600, which is a lot of times is often the dead zone of an 800. So I do like the way that she pushes that part of the 800 because it takes a lot of guts to do that. In the back end, you can see here with Morgan, she just gets that head sway where she gets a little bit tired. But I like how she's been racing the 8s and she's been racing everything because I think that's will help her with her mental side of the 800 and getting there. But Georgia Griffiths is very tough. She held her form very well then, and she pushed to the finish line pretty well, and she should be pretty happy with a 2:03 flat here on Perth track.
Yeah, and as you said,
no pacer.
No pacer, but they did get into a battle between themselves. And when you do that, sometimes the pace goes out the window because you're too busy focusing on each other rather than just trying to run fast.
Which is, I sit on the fence a little bit with that because I always think sometimes you have to take that step back. It's a hard one because both of them are coming at this season from a different angle. Morgan's obviously lost a bit of confidence and getting her confidence for 800, and George's confidence and just getting it back.
Cole's replay there, Zoya. 5:30 that was.
No.
Remember that under 18 record, 5:35.
And having said that, sometimes it would be nice to see them to throw that nervousness of competition out the door and just go, right, I'm going to attack this and I'm really going to attack that sub 2 minute time and I'm going to hit the bell at 58. If I blow up, I blow up. I can do it in this meet because there's no title on the line. There's no world championship heats. There's no final. I will learn where I'm at by hitting that 58 seconds. But look, I haven't forgotten. It's really hard to do. So I do respect where both girls are at, and they're trying their hardest. And I think that they're both heading in the right direction.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And, you know, the story outside of that is just Van der Linden at the back there.
Exactly.
How good is it to see the depth of women's 800-metre running coming through in the junior ranks now, and seeing someone so young go so fast?
Yep, and then with the juniors, you just have to be really cautious if you get a talent like that to hold them back, because a lot of the juniors, if they do too many miles, they never make it to that senior level. You really want to be focusing on nice technique, good speed, good form, and then just get yourself fit by racing, you know, learning how to race. So I don't actually know what the girls behind Morgan and Georgia do for training, but they ran beautifully and they were really gutsy. They held on to the pace, and I watched them down the back straight trying to hang on when Morgan was really pushing that pace in that third 200 and Georgia was going with her. They really tried to tack on, and they weren't afraid to go with girls who obviously had bigger names and were the ones to be watching. So that's feat in itself, isn't it? Because
that's encouraging.
It's not, you can't teach that sort of stuff to be gutsy, and those girls behind definitely had the guts to do it.
As we see Armstrong go clear at 30 as well. So this pole vault competition starting to heat up now. The bar's starting to get up near that territory where these athletes will be pushing their limits. But so far, so good here in the men's pole vault. As we see the crowd still in here, because there's still plenty of action to come here at the Jandakot City Airport Track Classic. As we see Matrevsky take off.
You'll be happy with that one.
It was just running down the Jandakot City Airport runway. Ready to take flight.
You're just waiting, aren't you, for Matrevsky to get back into that form that saw him make that Commonwealth Games team and win the national championship last year. You know he's got it in there. He's just a little bit rusty at the moment, but it's coming, and you know that sometimes it just takes that one big jump, that one where you run down the runway, you nail the board, and you get that good jump and your confidence just turns. He's not far away from it. You're just waiting for it to come, that 8-metre jump again.
Well, as you see, the bar go up to 5 metres 40. So I guess they don't want to equal the record. They're just going to try and add 5 centimetres to it. Now, I was doing some research for an under-18 event. When it comes to world events, they don't have records, they have bests. So in my research, very brief, 5:55 is the under-18 world best for pole vault.
Interesting that they term it that, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know why they don't have records. What it doesn't matter.
I know.
It's still the best ever.
Sounds better record, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Whoa. Oh, I think that's good. I think that's good. Roper.
Wow.
Do you know what, though? He's been given the red wind flag, so it is over 2 metres. Oh, that's massive.
Doesn't matter. He looks amazing. He was great on the runway, and that was a super jump.
I didn't feel a breath of wind up here. But that's a massive jump.
It is, and the windsock's not doing anything.
Yeah, look at it.
So just sitting down. Oh, it must have been just over.
It's going to be 2.1 again.
8:32.
Wow.
Get out of here. I want to know what that wind was. 8:32. He is hot.
Yeah. What a jump that is.
That is some
Darcy
lava
Roper.
he's producing out there in this long jump right now.
Hey.
What was that wind? If that's a 2.1,
Oh, no.
I've got to talk to some people. Wouldn't do any good, but I just want to talk to them. Wow. And we've got 3 more rounds of this. Woo!
He just looks fantastic, doesn't he? Like, I'm just running on the runway. He's striking that ground beautifully. He looks very fast, and he's controlling it so well. What a leap. What spring.
What did he do to the wind gods?
Yeah,
He's
damaged someone.
Who did he annoy to just, blow a bit extra wind down there? Oh, frustrating, but He's got that in his body.
Oh, that was an amazing jump.
The Doha qualifies 8.17. He's leapt further than it twice, and he's been given an illegal wind twice now. That is some amazing form.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
So 5 metres 40 on the bar. Angus Armstrong rolling down the runway. Oh, that's a massive clearance. Do you know what, tonight? It is, it's turning into be one of the best long jump pole vault nights, you know, combined male and female that we've had, I think, in a competition. In a track classic, the Jandakot Airport Track Classic, it's really turning it on.
Just the jumps in general at this event have been off the charts with both men and women. So we see that Carruthers on the runway wearing that Wace rowing bodysuit. Gathers himself, starts his run up. Just knocking with his feet on his way up. He had good height, but unfortunately not to be this time there for Carruthers.
But what I'm excited to see now, next up should be youngster Sasha Zoya on the runway. Just dropping a few extra marks there on his pole. 5 metres 35, the national under-18 record. Paul Burgess, if he clears this, he's added 5 centimetres to that best. Here we go, Zoya. The top of the runway. This is a record attempt with a very multi-talented athlete. If he was a little older, we probably would have seen him in the hurdles later on. But here comes Sasha Zoya, 5 metres 40, first attempt. Oh, he was over.
Yeah, he had
He knows it too.
He had the height.
He knows it. He's like, oh, I'll be back for you later. And later, he means in about 5 minutes when he has his second attempt. Now, this is where it's interesting with pole vault, as we see here on the Coles replay. Had the vertical height, just not the forward momentum, it seems.
Yeah.
The mental, approach here when it comes to your pole vault, where a 5.15, he cleared 5.30 by an absolute mile, but it's the mental barrier of 5 metres 40. Now it's like, oh, this one's the record.
Yeah. You can see him there just looking at the video footage with his coach, Alex Parnov. And it's the beauty of, I guess, where track and field is at the moment, where the athletes now have the ability to be able to go back and review footage like that with their coaches and really chat about things and see if they can work on different things to...
It's had to move with technology.
Yeah.
It's had to, and now, mobile phones weren't a thing in the 1900s.
No.
You didn't have to worry about it.
No.
They had to actually fight hard to even allow for that 20-metre coach zone.
Yeah.
At a point. And now with this review, they get to, you know, sometimes they can take phones out. They just need to be on flight mode.
Yeah.
You know, film that can get filmed by the coach and reviewed in between. Stephen Clough now, 5 metres 40 as well. Oh, he's over. That was a brilliant jump. He is pumped. Great technician over that vault there. Burgess, he's been hug happy tonight. There's another one. Oh, another brilliant technical jump there from Carruthers. So 5 metres 40. Boys are making short work of this height. Oh, see, a bit of teamwork there, sharing poles.
Well, they're expensive, aren't they?
They are,
Yeah.
and it's probably their team poles.
Yeah.
You know, it's the squad pole, as Declan uses that one. Sasha's like, all right, you done with that? My turn.
Yeah.
I like it.
So I've just had something through from one of our officials here in Western Australia, Fiona Brown. Apparently, they used to do pole vault in Murray Street Mall back in the 90s. In the middle of the city.
So for everyone who's not from Perth and doesn't know where Murray Street Mall is.
So that's in the city.
Yep.
It's in the shopping district area. So they must have set up a makeshift pole vault there in the mall and did pole vaults back in the 90s.
The street meet history runs deep out in the West, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's just one of the events that it's visually spectacular. Hurling their bodies, you know,
it's something
stories
else to see.
high.
Yeah, something else to see. So I've also had something else come through here with the pole vault. So this is from Miranda Tong, who was an athlete with, we'll get to it just after this jump here by Sasha Joy. This is his second attempt here at 5 metres 40, which will be an Australian under-18 record. And he's over. What a jump.
You
What
bloody
a clearance.
river.
Over he goes, and he's ecstatic, and as he should be. He's just taken his coach, one of his coaches, Australian.
There he points to him in the
record.
crowd.
There
Paul
he
Burgess.
is.
Not often do you get to, you know, pass the baton
Yeah.
and have the now old Australian record holder to share that joy and to be part of, like, you know what, I helped get my record broken effectively. And that's the way it should be. Records are there to be broken.
He's so good off that pole, isn't he?
Oh, that is a big
He's
clearance,
so
dude.
good off that pole.
So what's the next 5:55? That's what we want to see, is it?
I love how we've got the footage so close at that emotion. You can just see it. And it's just happy emotion. Great effort.
So a bit of an update on the lighter fluid.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Miranda, who used to be a pole vaulter, trained under Alex Parnov, went to many national junior champs, all that sort of stuff. So she said that the lighter fluid isn't sticky itself. It makes the black tape sticky.
Ah, okay.
So
Nice.
lighter fluid isn't sticky.
No, because I was thinking
It makes the black tape
The
sticky.
Glen 20 is not sticky,
that's
is it?
that's
No.
what I'm saying. Like, which is why I was confused by how it made it.
So can I use Glen 20? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't
Well,
know.
we need
Is
to
lighter
find that
fluid
out.
the only product that you can use to make black tape sticky?
I thought it. So bar 5:51 now, obviously wanting to now go up by 10s. So 5:51, 5:61, 5:71.
Okay, Matt, you've done your maths. Good job.
Yep.
I know what you
That's
mean.
the Doha qualifier.
Yes.
Now, to me, when you say tape to me sounds sticky. Why do I need something else to make it sticky? Tape, the word in itself, feels like it should be sticky.
Yeah, but tape, the sticky side is on the pole, not on the outside. So you need double-sided
tape.
sticky tape.
It's
There you go.
It's like a grip.
That is a thing.
It is a thing, but not in the
So
type
lighter
of tape
fluid
that they
makes
use.
tape reversed. It makes the outside of tape sticky. It turns into double-sided tape.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's weird,
Love
though.
it.
It's grip, right? It's actually grip that they're putting on the pole. Or is it tape?
I don't know.
Well, because, you know, with cricket on the bats, they put grip on.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if they're allowed to put
No,
grip.
I'm pretty sure it's tape.
So
but
it's tape. So they just wrap the tape around and
think
then
so.
put the lighter
I
fluid
think it's
on.
just
And then...
down.
Look, I think we're out of a depth here
Sorry.
with it.
So we might
Where's
need a little bit
Curtis?
more information coming through for
I
us.
might have to go down and find Curtis Marshall in the crowd and ask him. Don't want to make it too sticky so you can't let go of it when you're up there.
Well, that's the thing. Sometimes you see it where they struggle to sort of push it off a little bit. As we see Jeremy Andrews on the runway again. Gets up.
Good crowd support, doesn't he?
Definitely.
Really
Well,
good
he
crowd
is
support.
a local WA athlete who's obviously now moved to Queensland to train under Gary Bourne, but definitely would have the support of his family and friends here. Just probably didn't get the height and the pop that he would have liked.
Yeah, probably just lacking the extension off the board, as we did see just there on the Coles replay. Stephen Clough there, 5:51. I think this would be close to a PB for Stephen.
Yeah, I think his personal best is 5:35.
Well, that's why he was so stoked when
Yep.
he jumped 5:40.
Yep. So he's everything he gets over from here, he's celebrating hard.
A little bit of... Oh,
Oh, that's the hard thing when you do go up.
he's okay. He's okay. He's all right.
They change their poles, don't they? And they can be stiffer. And so
Yep.
sometimes if you haven't vaulted off those poles to get up to the higher
Well,
heights, it's
yep.
actually quite difficult to get used to. And
Now,
he's
this
starting
is
to get into
why
an area
it's
he
such
hasn't been in.
a dangerous sport. See, if he was just maybe even a little bit closer, that foot's going into the box.
Yeah.
And that's where it slopes away. It's metal. Darcy Roper on the side there supporting his teammate Matrevsky. Fourth round in this men's long jump. A better jump off the back of the board, though, unfortunately.
We're obviously missing Henry Smith from that trio that trains in Melbourne with Johnny Boas. But they've got a good little squad happening there at the moment, don't they? And look, they're jumping pretty well.
Now, this is going to be, you know, he's had plenty of time between his 8:32. It feels like an eternity since he
Doesn't it?
jumped that. I thought it was last week.
Yeah.
Because that was the end of the third round, they've had to, you know, redo, go through, recheck the top 8, reorder. So he's now had to sit and wait for that and then wait for those 7 more jumps beforehand. So,
Yep.
I don't know, it could be a blessing. Could have, you know, relaxed himself.
Well, you'd be
Whereas the girls, there's only 5 in the comp. So you
Yeah.
were just, boom, you had a jump, 4 jumps later, jump,
jump, yeah.
boom, back to back. So I think this could be, I think he's an athlete who thrives on the energy. So fingers crossed he can harness that again. The 8:32. We only need 8:17. He doesn't need to go overboard. All right?
We just need
an 8:17. Yeah, we need one of those. As the crowd gets behind Darcy Roper. 4th round attempt.
Oh. Come on.
He's got 2 whites.
Yep. Okay. We have a chance.
Come on.
I don't think it's as
Now-
far, but I'm going 8:12.
This is one of the ones where now, because they're using an EDM, they can't go out and look at the tape.
No.
So it actually builds the anticipation.
Yeah. So I'm calling 8:12 here.
Oh, can't.
Oh.
The anticipation.
Meanwhile, looks like Armstrong just went clear at 5:51. It's all happening here at the Jandakot Airport Track Classic.
Oh, no.
8:13.
8:13.
So he's added
That was
12
pretty close.
centimetres to his personal best.
Well
A
done.
legal personal best. His first legal 8-metre jump since 2015.
Which is a huge effort. I
It's
mean,
massive.
that competition in 2015 was just phenomenal, the under-18s where he took the silver. But it's like what we saw with Jack Hale. Sometimes when you're a sensational junior, breaking that personal best again can take a little while, and coming through the other end to do it is a reward in itself. So well done, Darcy Roper. We
That's
obviously
massive.
know he's got bigger in him.
All that talk beforehand, he found it again.
Yep.
8.13, he's so close, 4 centimetres. He's still got 2 more jumps out there.
But that would make a world champs an Olympic final.
Oh, that can win medals.
Yeah, let's think about it.
Pretty sure that's what Mitch Watt jumped when he got silver in London. I think it was 8.11 or 8.13. Maybe it was 8.18. It was in the teens.
Oh, was it? Let's look it up.
We'll have to have a look.
Braden Davidson, now the Rio Paralympic gold medalist in this long jump field. As Angus Armstrong and Declan Carruthers, they're both clear at 5.51. Like I said, it's a night of jumps here, isn't it?
It is. It is. It's all happening down right here in front of the grandstand.
And the best thing is this is staggered here out in front. So the pole vault is, you know, a little bit further up for the long jump. So you can see both at the same time. They're not obstructing either views. You see on the Coles replay here, Carruthers charging down there. I love that little pause in the air. 8.16 was the silver medal. 8.12 was the bronze. So that jump there, that's a medal.
Yeah.
That's a medal at a major championships. And there's days in long jump where people just can't jump.
Yeah.
And that was one of the days. They're 8.50 jumpers.
Yeah.
Rutherford just got one out there.
Well, Rutherford was a pretty classy jumper in that period where he was winning everything.
Yeah.
You know, he wasn't one of those athletes.
He
He
just
was so
couldn't lose.
unassuming, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was like one of those athletes where, you know, you thought, oh, yeah, he's going okay, but he just kept bagging himself the gold medal. So he's the most underrated gold medalist in that period of time.
But
was
he
brilliant.
had speed. He was a 10.2
brilliant.
runner.
Yeah, he was brilliant. He was just so unassuming.
Oh, it's a better look there for Clough. He'll have one more attempt. And this is getting very close to, maybe might see Zoya very soon.
So still a healthy crowd here at the Jandakot Airport Track Classic as Stephen Clough just speaking with Paul Burgess, his coach. So with the pole vault, for those not familiar with it, so the poles have 2 different ratings. One's a length and the other one's a stiffness. So you might hear an athlete out there go, all right, I'm going to use a 5.40 pole, which is a pole that's 5 meters 40. And then they might go and say, okay, I'll use a 15.4 flex. And that's in reference to the stiffness of the pole. So there's those 2 numbers, which if you hear those 2 numbers, one's the length and the other one is the stiffness of the pole.
And when you think about a 5.40 pole that you're trying to run down and then plant and then hurl yourself up, it's a difficult event.
Yeah, it is.
Not to mention scary. Like there is dangers involved with pole vault.
So that 5.40 pole, that's for people that are jumping high fives. You know, it's that sort of level of pole.
Well, you look at the poles that you need to get over 6.
Mm-hmm.
You're using a 580 meter pole, 590.
But the average person would not actually be able to hold that pole. Like, do you know what I mean? The way that they hold it, that would be really difficult. To then go and run down a runway with it, it's impressive athleticism. And we've, just like we've said, constantly saying tonight, we've got some quality pole vaulters in our country. They do the hard yards.
Now, we haven't seen Sasha have an attempt at 5.51. Now, what I'm thinking is, it's gone to 5.51, so it went from 5.40. They went up 11 centimetres to 5.51. What I'm thinking of now is they might go by 5s, which would make it 5.56, which would then add 1 centimetre to the world under-18 best, which is quite tactical. And then they can continue by 5s to 5.71. They're deep thinkers. These pole vaulters, they know how to get the centimetres.
It could also help give them a bit more rest.
Yes, that too.
As we see Histrianopoulos, the great guy, get out there. Just getting the red flag there. Had the white on the wind gauge, but unfortunately the red on the board, so not to be in that round.
So the smaller the fields, if they worked out, because they're in the same sort of training group, if they worked out that they'll swap the heights that they go out and pass at, they'll give themselves more time. Do you know what I mean? To recover between the heights.
You could definitely sit down at training beforehand.
Do you know what I mean? Like if one
out.
of them's going for records at that height and the other one wants the World Championship qualifier, makes sense. Take the time to then move the bar. Yeah.
As we see Clough in the pole vault. Up. Oh! Initially had the height, just sort of stalled at the top. Couldn't keep the momentum over the bar.
Great comp.
He'll bow out of this competition at 5:51.
I think he'll sleep well tonight, happy with his personal best.
I think so.
See the mile runners coming out. Now, are they going to have a clock on the 1500 at time in case Matt Ramsden does go for that World Championship?
Well, they can do the mile. There is a mile time, I'm fairly sure.
Oh, okay.
So
we should look up what that is. Okay, 3:53. Oh, that's pretty quick.
Yeah, 3:53.
3:53.10. That is moving. I think John Landy would think that was moving too.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see a mile tonight at that sort of pace because that's a world-class time, and obviously you would need some pretty good pacemakers off the front to sort of dictate that sort of speed through this mile race. But we've still got a class field nonetheless.
I'm trying to see if Rory Hunter's out there.
No, it doesn't look like Rory is. But
he'd entered the 800 at the back end of the competition as well. So I didn't think he'd be able to do the mile and the A800 at 9:35 tonight.
No, but there is a bit of history, obviously, the Herb Elliott mile
out
here tonight. I think one of the last times it was here, it was the first West Australian to go sub-4 in Western Australia. I can't remember who it was who did it. It might have been Mark C. I might be just pulling that out of the thin air.
No? Do you know when the first one was?
I don't know. Sorry.
If you give us, let's say, did you get it?
Oh, I got that. Just to throw that in there.
So there's your start list for this men's mile event. Luke Burrows, Kurt Wesley. We'll see Rory Hunter's still on there, but we can't see the ACT athlete out there, so it looks like he may be a DNS. Luke Graves, Christopher Dale, Matthew Ramsden, obviously the quality athlete out there in this field. Ben Chamberlain, Jaco Janssen van Rensburg, Jason Ramsden, Brandon Ford, and Chris Gould. So 2 Ramsden out there. It would be interesting to see if there's a relationship.
Brother.
But, oh, brother, there you go. As we go back to the long jump, it is Matrevsky as he makes his way down the runway. Gets up. But didn't quite have the pop that he was after in that one. And he knows it.
So that means next up on the runway will be Darcy Roper. He's got an 8:32. We went 7:88, run through 8:32, 8:13. Oh, that's big. He's jumped himself quite up there in the all-time rankings. Well up there from his 8:01. And for an athlete who you feel has been around for a long time, he's still only 21 this year.
Yeah.
That's young.
Well, it's like a lot of our stars from that sort of era. You feel like they're a lot older because they really burst onto the scene, you know. Rowan Browning, Jack Hale, Trey Williams. Like, there's a heap of them that we saw just burst onto the scene with really talented level times and distances. So sometimes when you are a talented junior, you go through that big improvement, and then you just have that little lull. It's actually a hard transition from juniors to seniors.
Yeah, it is. And luckily for an event like long jump stays long jump. You don't change weights. There's no pole vaults. There's no heights. There's nothing else. But Roper, he burst on the scene. He's made his way. He's continued on. And his 4th round attempt. We'll stay with this long jump. As you can hear in the background, the mile is underway, but we'll get with this long jump. We don't want to miss a Doha qualifier, which could be just around the corner for Roper.
He's asking for the crowd support. If you're in your lounge room at home, start the clap. Roper is going to be able to hear you, I guarantee that.
Oh, he's got the whites.
Oh, he's got the whites, but I don't think it's going to be on this one. I'm going to call it again, 8:03.
Mate, that's still... I know.
Amazing. Amazing.
Just getting white flags down the runway, that's enough. $8.11.
Oh, wow.
How often
When you're
now
hot,
he
you're hot.
could just be like, oh, my 3rd best jump of the day. Blah. Not saying that that's a horrible jump.
No, but it's saying what sort of quality.
Look at that
what
Coles
class
replay. He is just in.
shape.
This is a hot streak. As he almost goanna crawls out of the pit there.
Tough Mudder style.
I think he's going to throw everything in the kitchen sink at that 6th round attempt there. We cut back to our mile here. They're only 600 metres into the race.
Chamberlain's in the lead and Ramsden's trailing him just there, the taller figure on the outside. He started the race. His intentions obviously look like he wasn't after a time. He settled into the back and he's just moved through the field nice and comfortably through the first couple of laps. I mean, it's a pretty tough ask because he obviously has been added to that World Cross Country team late, so you'd have to up your miles a little bit, and so it changes the way that you're running. So this would be a sprint almost for him at the moment.
Yeah, they're really not going for a time, obviously. No. Sub-4's off the cards here for the Herb Elliott mile. They should have been crossing the line probably 15, 16 seconds ago as they go through with 2 laps to go. But
which is probably the perfect sort of race that Matt would want at the moment. He'd just want to be doing this as a training run, just to sharpen himself up for those World Cross Country titles and make sure that he's still ticking over. But, I mean, it's dangerous by the rest of the field to leave him with a sprint finish home because he's the quickest in the field.
Now, we cut back to the pole vault because this is a world best attempt. 5 metres 56 adds 1 centimetre onto the world best done by Emanuel Karalis of Greece. 5:55 set in 2016 in Ostrava. 5:56 if he gets over the bar. Ooh. Not a bad first attempt. I think,
it's gotta be
probably just put the bar back a little bit. 2 more attempts at that. He'll have a good break here. But they're turning it up with 450 metres to go in this Herb Elliott mile. Well, as Ramsden gets the bell at 3:12. They're really going from a long way out.
Well, off that pace, Chamberlain knew that he had Ramsden breathing down his neck. He had to do the long run for home. But it's unfortunately, when you got the quality of Ramsden in that field, it still wasn't enough of an injection of pace. And Ramsden's broken free of this field and showing his class down the back straight. Yeah, and I think it's just a good opportunity for him to, run in front of his home crowd before recently added to that World Cross Country team off to Denmark. It's only in about 15 days, I think, that race. So, maybe this little kick of speed here injected in. He's going to be over 10 Ks on that awesome-looking course in Aarhus in Denmark. It looks amazing. But you look at this gap. From 450 metres, they were shoulder to shoulder, and he comes into the home straight with a good 30 to 40-metre lead. And it's almost like a victory lap for Ramsden. Just a beautiful technician, isn't he? You're just waiting for him to smash through his 1,500-metre personal best this year.
I think he'll definitely turn it off. But it's a great run there. 4:07.49. He's taking the win in front of his home crowd there.
And easily negative splitted that too. He's fit, isn't he?
He's ready to go.
Yep.
such lovely technique at the back end of a mile. He still looks so fresh. He's
Well,
nice off the ground. Good
he's our
technique.
national mile champion.
He is. We have a national mile champion this year.
If we can't forget that.
See, look how relaxed he is. Distance runners take note. He's so relaxed through his shoulders as he's coming home. It's not an easy thing to do.
His thing is, we'll get to that after we see Angus Armstrong here. 5:56. Oh, that was just probably not having the forward speed, but Matt Ramsden, he's won the Albie Thomas mile,
yep.
He's won the Herb Elliott mile. It just seems to be the miles named after people that he will win. So, you know, if you're lining up next to Matt Ramsden and it's a mile named after someone, he's going to win. Probably a very relevant stat that no one cares about.
He dropped
the
the 57 last lap.
That's moving.
Maybe get him to the Elmsley car mile then.
Oh, well, 2 in a row for Australians then.
That would be pretty cool after Stewie McSween's great one last year.
On our tour to Perth that we did today, along with scouting out locations for pole vault, we were also looking at locations to have street races.
Yep.
We thought about the Digger Dash up at Kings Park on Anzac Day after the memorial. People are there, and there's a strip that runs up the front end of Kings Park. Beautiful, nice little incline. It's 500 to 600 metres long. Oh. So you could have a shorter sort of sprint race, or you could have an up-back sort of situation and get closer to that mile. So
yeah,
just putting it out there.
Stay tuned for next year. It's on.
For the Digger Dash.
Yep. So Zoya will be next to appear on the pole vault. There'll be a solid gap between their jumps. Christianopoulos on the runway. This is the 6th round in this men's long jump. Popped a PB on his first round attempt. Salutes the crowd. Great night out there. I'm sure this is something he'll remember forever, being out there, seeing some legal jumps over 8 metres and a 8:32. But Zoya, second attempt at what could be a world under 18 best, only 1 centimetres to the 5:55. Asking for the crowd support. The pole vaulters were clapping Darcy on his 8:11. Now they're returning the favour. Supporting the vaulters. 5:56. Oh, that was a... He had a great look on the first attempt. That was even better.
Yeah, it was going to happen eventually.
One more to go. And you see there on the Coles replay, just probably not getting the body turned around fast enough. Little low. You know a long jumper likes it with how quickly they get out of the pit.
Yeah. And when they run back around to look at it, at how far it was.
Like we were saying before, this might put them off a little bit because they are using an EDM. So, you know, it's a surveying equipment. Anyone correct me? EDM stands for, I would make it up and say electronic distance measurer. It's probably not. It sounds too simple.
No, I like it.
But normally they would use it for the long throws because electronic dance music, Tamsin, I don't think that's what it stands for.
Hang on, give
but
me a
thank
sec.
you for looking that up. So not often will there be tape measures that are 70 metres long, 80 metres long. They can get tangled up. Anyone who's tried to wind in a long tape measure is very frustrating. So use the EDM. It is nice and quick and accurate. See the little tripod by the side there. And Angus Armstrong, his second attempt at 5:56. Oh, just taking it with the shins, unfortunately. Actually, no, sorry, last attempt there for Angus, so no good as Matrevsky comes down. His final attempt. Just not getting the extension off that board there. Which means with Matrevsky down the runway, next up will be Darcy Roper. And what do we want? We want 8:17. We want 2 white flags. We want 8:17. Now, this is where it gets a bit frustrating because Sasha Zoya is also on the runway. And it's a bit tricky. We've got them side by side. We've got Roper walking back to the top of his mark and Zoya doing the same. Fingers crossed, you know, they look over at each other. Darcy's like, I'll go first, Sash. You just wait there. And he's like, yeah, you got it right, mate. That's fine.
Nah, it looks like Sasha's going first, so you got it wrong.
No, no, see?
Oh, no, Darcy's back on.
Thank you. He's clapping.
I disagree with you. I don't want to see 8:17. I want to see 8:33. Legal.
Legal.
Let's do it. Let's get the clap going in the lounge room. The nation has won as Roper comes in. He jumps. He looks good. Oh.
Well, they won't give the flags until they get out of the pit, but he's got the 2 wide flags. I don't think that's going to improve.
No, it's not.
Wins the competition with 8:32. Comes out with a new legal PB of 8:13. He dropped an 8:11 in there just for good measure in case he missed the other ones. What a series.
Yeah. What a series. Said beautifully,
And
Matt.
no chance for a breath there. Sasha Zoya, final attempt, 5 metres 56.
And he wants the support of the nation as well.
Could be a new world under 18 best. He's already broken the Australian under 18 best of 5 metres 40.
If you hear some noise coming from the house next door, they're just watching the live stream, getting behind Sasha Zoya. Oh! So close.
You are kidding me.
He had the height.
Oh, that was a 5 metres 60.
He knows it too. So
a
close.
Round of applause for Sasha Zoya. I can't wait to see the Coles replay. Wow. We know that's coming.
Yeah.
It is. It's there.
He has till the 31st of December to beat that record.
Time on
Just
his
getting
side.
started, isn't he?
Oh, look
Look
at that
at-
attempt.
Oh, the
Look at the height.
hips.
Oh, so close.
Oh.
Just
He knew it too. Oh,
The
just
hip
the chest coming
clearance.
down on it. Just the chest coming down on it. Couldn't
Oh.
get out of the way
You
quick
know,
enough.
Don't you love the way that he runs down that run up though? He's so tall and strong and stable
Yeah.
through his core. He's a great athlete.
Oh, mate. He had it. It was there. Oh, he's going to get
Jeez.
it.
Well, winning hearts of people all around Australia with that shot.
I think a few females just froze the screen for a little while there. But the pole vaulters, aren't they just fit? You saw it with the girls, the ladies before, and the men. They're fit-looking athletes.
Oh, they are, aren't they?
They have to do the work in the gym. They work pretty hard. It's
Now,
that all
look,
body fitness.
we can't forget, the competition's still going.
I know.
Declan Carruthers is in, 561. Now, this will be an improvement on Carruthers' PB of a 1 centimetre, so he's a 560 jumper.
Which he did this year on this track, so he likes this track, obviously.
Now, you know, when we were talking about that competition where the 3 were going into 2, he was the unlucky one that missed out to go to that World
Unfortunately,
Juniors.
he has been in that position. I'm glad when they went to the Commonwealth Games, they could take 3.
Yeah, which in seniors, we can do that, which is fantastic because we just have, geez, we have such good stock in our men's
Especially in
pole
those field events.
Yeah, yeah.
Field and track, as some people call it.
Yeah, we've got a few people who like to call it field and track.
Now, in this men's 110-metre hurdles, unfortunately, we will be missing Nicholas Huff. Nothing major, just a little bit of a niggle. And he thought better of not racing tonight. But now there'll be an empty lane right in the centre, and we'll see 2 of our young up-and-coming stars in this event.
And they are stars.
Declan Crothers here, first attempt, 5 metres, 61 for a new PB. No, he wanted to pop up and have a look. See it, 61, yep.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
Make sure it's the right height.
Yeah, just checking. You guys got it right. There have been some issues in a few pole vault meets. I think the NCAAs, they actually said it was the wrong height, and I think they had to retroactively give people PBs.
Oh.
It was like, the bar's at, 573, and it was like 580. And they got it, and they're like, by the way, sorry, it was 580. You'd be pumped.
Oh, yeah, you would be.
But I think there's been times when they said it was higher, but it was actually lower.
And this is going to be still a great race because Andrews and Macrory, was not much to separate them at the New South Wales State Championships.
Their first year under 14 seconds this year, and they've gone 13.79 and 13.82. They're now 12th for Nicholas Andrews and Jacob McCrory, 14th all time.
Oh, unsteady.
Oh, and we're seeing Wes Salisbury. We just saw him in the long jump. He's out there in lane 10 in his hurdles. So the field from the inside, Vincent Suhi in lane 4, Ryan Neal in 5, Nick Andrews in 6, lane 7 vacant, Jacob McCrory in 8, Adrian Pelzer in 9, and in 10, Wesley Salisbury. So hopefully we see a green card on that race. There, looks like the start's all clear.
Obviously, Nick doing what's best for him, obviously by withdrawing from this race, but I really was looking forward to what is basically going to be round 2 with New South Wales State Champs being round 1. It was an amazing race.
Was it a cracker?
Oh, it was a cracker.
Yep.
It was a cracker.
What was
Nick let them get away, and he came storming over the top.
Oh, and if anyone comes storming, it's Huff.
So
Huff can storm.
He won in 13.76,
Yep,
and then seconds was Andrews, 13.79, and then McCrory was
13.82.
How good is that race? And it's like we've been saying all night, competition brings out the best in you. And I think one of the races of the Commonwealth Games for mine last year was Nick Hoff winning that medal. It was a surprise medal, but it was a deserved medal.
Definitely.
From lane 8.
It was fantastic.
Snuck down the outside.
Those sneaky little medals that you haven't written into the books yet. It was a great run by Nick.
All right, we're away. Clean start there. Andrews on the right-hand side of your screen. McCrory on the outside. But Andrews, he's having the best of the start. He's really starting to get into his rhythm. McCrory's trying to come home. But Andrews, one more to clear, and he's going to take this rent. And he's done it again. 13.83. The sub-14s, they just come back to back to back.
Yeah, he had a good run there. Had a better start out of him and McCrory. McCrory didn't really get into his running like we're used to seeing, because usually he's the athlete that's leading from the front. As we see Carruthers go up again, but unfortunately...
Better attempt, though, that time.
Just not making it over.
It's that event, the high hurdles. Andrews got such a great start that McCrory was behind, and he had to really... You saw him just fight. You see him here fighting to try and get back onto level terms with Andrews, but in doing that, he clipped a few of the hurdles and he made his race just a little bit messy through the middle, and you can lose a lot of time. We know that he's in a sub-14 shape, and Andrews just had an absolutely smooth, brilliant race from the gun.
Now, the last time these two guys were here was 2016 for the Australian Junior Champs, because both of those guys went to Poland for that World Juniors.
Yep.
Okay. Nick, actually, he's a 10.32 runner. I want to see him, if he goes out and runs a 100 metres, you might see him in the 4x1, because in 2017 in London, he was the third runner.
He was part of that
Trey
team.
Williams, Tom Gamble, Nick Andrews, Rowan Browning.
Yep.
Yep.
And
He's got great flat speed, and hence that's probably why he looked so good out of the blocks. That he did look like a sprinter. The only difference is you can't keep low. You've got to pop up so that you can see that hurdle, but he did it really well.
He was the forgotten man in that race where Trey Williams ran 10:27 because he ran 10:39 for third.
I know.
When has that happened in an under-20 race?
But that shows how talented the man on the screen is. He's one of those athletes that we should keep an eye out on leading into Tokyo because he has super talent. He's one of those athletes that's probably the hardest thing he's had to do is choose an event to focus on.
Well, exactly. And this is at the Sydney Track Classic was the first time he ever went under 14 seconds. He went 13:91, and then he did it at New South Wales. He hasn't not done it since.
And that's like Nicholas Hoff. He's another athlete where the hardest thing that he probably had to do was to choose an event to focus on because he's also got great flat speed over the 100 and 200.
I think he actually had to pull the flat speed back because it was making it too hard to hurdle.
Yeah, well, it's that thing where you have to pop up. And, you know, in sprinting, you're taught to really focus on the drive phase, stay low. And in the hurdles, if you did that, you'd be crashing into the first hurdle. So you've got to pop up and sight that first hurdle and then get over it at, you know, an angle that you're probably still on your upward trajectory. So it's a tough event to do. But, you know, Nicholas Andrews is like putting out 13.8s regularly now. That's, you know, his speed and his talent that we saw as a junior is really starting to come to the fore. And I think he's another athlete that we've got to keep that eye on what he does leading into Tokyo because with those 3 spots that you can get, we might find ourselves with 310-metre hurdlers on the plane to Tokyo.
How good would that be?
Awesome.
Now at the discus, it's a mixed discus out there at the moment with one female athlete at the start, Sarah Edmiston, an absolutely fantastic athlete. And that looks like Etienne Rousseau.
Well, we've just watched the high hurdler. She's actually married to an ex-national hurdler, Paul Edmiston, who coaches her as well. He used to be a national level high hurdler.
And we'll see, I think, waiting to the bottom of the field there, Matthew Denny. There's Matt Denny, first one out there. Ooh, so that line is at 65 metres, which is the Doha qualifier. And that's a 64-metre throw.
Of that mark, only a fraction shy of that mark there. What? That's a good attempt there from Denny.
And so the discus throwers do prefer 63.55 there for Denny. They do want that headwind. Same as when a plane's taking off, the wind goes under it, lifts it up. They don't want a tailwind. There was horrible tailwinds for the discus at Queensland State Championships, and it just blew the discus into the ground, effectively.
Well, the winds were pretty strong at your Queensland State.
They were. Last attempt here, Declan Carruthers, 5.61. A much better look.
Yeah. Good competition.
It's been a great night for the jumps in front here. We've had a feast of PBs.
Mm-hmm.
We've come out with a national record, PBs, 2 Doha qualifiers. It's been awesome. There's still more to come.
Well, stick around because obviously the event that's been talked about the most is still to come with the men's 800 metres.
Yeah, and the men's 200 metres, that's another one.
Well, that's going to be an interesting battle too because Alex Hartman's, you know, the 200-metre specialist, and he's going to be up against Rowan Browning, who's the 400. No, he's not the 400-metre specialist, but we did enjoy watching him run a 400 metres.
It was special.
But,
it was special.
But you look at how fast he went through the 200 and even the 300, so he's in shape.
He did look very good. And hopefully that race really did help with a bit of back-end fitness for the 200. So you think that his PB is something that's going to be rewritten pretty soon?
I think so, and that's something we may see tonight, I reckon.
I think it was about 20.71, but I'm going off record. I think it's about that. You think he could go a bit faster than that with the way that he ran his 100 metres through the rounds at the Commonwealth Games and just that flat speed he's got. And even the endurance he had to do a 47.13, 400 metres in Sydney.
in these hurdles. So it looks like only 3 athletes have made the start line in these hurdles, which is enough to make a legitimate competition. Thankfully.
It's a tough one, the hurdles. Obviously, a lot of the athletes are preferring to stay on the East Coast because we do have our national championships coming up, which are obviously important. Everyone wants to win that national title, so they're in the box seat to get that ticket to Doha World Championships. But Sally Pearson's obviously one that's not here, the big name from the hurdles. She came out and she had her first 100-metre race and looked really fast. And she's happy with the way that her training's going, so she's gone back into a bit of a training block, but she'll be at the Nationals running those hurdles. Bean's been in great shape. She's just got a couple of niggles at the moment, which on both legs, which, you know, caused her a little bit of an issue in Sydney. So hopefully she's feeling a little bit more pain-free for this race, because we know that she's got great 100-metre speed, having equalled her personal best earlier this year at a Perth club meet.
So the class athlete here, Brianna Bean, in the centre there. Commonwealth Games finalist. On her inside, Isabella Reeves, moving very well. She's a sub-14 runner, but it's Bean looking too strong over these hurdles. Catherine Sparrow on the outside, but Bean crossing the line, 13:44 to take the win.
She just looks a little bit sore at the moment in that trail leg. She's doing something with her arm that's just a little bit wooden, which is really hard when you are sore and you're trying to hurdle. Fingers crossed she can get her body right, so that you can just see it there with her her trail leg. It's just not snapping down. And she's not coming off that hurdle as quickly as we're used to seeing with Brianna, because she's such a great technician. You can see that it's almost there. But when you're sore, and it's a hard event when you're sore to run it fast and well, because you can try and block the pain out as much as you can, but it's a pretty tough event, the hurdles, if you are feeling a couple of niggles.
Yeah, it looks like Denny is about to make his way back into the discus circle.
Fingers crossed he was watching the Instagram of Athletics Australia earlier. Maybe pick up a couple of technique tips.
Yep, because if there was ever a place to pick up technique tips, it is on the Athletics Australia Instagram page. There was a couple of demonstrations uploaded onto there earlier today.
One obviously much better than the other, but we'll leave that up to you guys to judge.
As we see him wind up, rotate and release.
Looking good.
It looks big.
Stay.
Oh, just missing that mark. I think we're going to see a 64 next to his name for that one. Just shy again of that 65 metres.
A good 64.28, I reckon.
I am going to go with 64.43.
What about the athlete that Matty Denny is? You know, he medalled in the hammer throw at the Commonwealth Games last year, and he was 4th in the discus, but he's chosen to focus on the discus
Split the difference. Nah, you went over.
64.39. It's a great throw.
Yeah, that's how good the eye is up here. Only 4 centimetres off. We're getting our eye in, which is good to see.
I mean, he threw 62.53 at those Commonwealth Games to come 4th. That's how good that throw is tonight.
He was disappointed because he was coming off some PB throws.
Well, that's a season's best tonight for him, so he'll be pretty happy with that, but he knows that he's in shape to throw a bit further tonight, and he's got a few more throws left. It's a good idea for him to focus. He's still so young. Another one that we forget how young he is, because throwers often take a little while to develop and get that strength that makes them world class. And
well, he made Rio at 20 years old.
So young.
He won the World Youth Championships in the discus and was 3rd or silver in the hammer.
Well, it's a similar trajectory to Danny Stevens, who was also very young when she made her first team. They're both unique talents, and we're very lucky to have them.
They do train a lot together as well. So now Danny's based up in Queensland.
With her husband, Dr. Joe, working up there. We miss Danny out there competing. She's coming back from injury, so hopefully we will see her pretty soon. But I think it's a good idea by Maddie. The hammer throw is such an event where, you know, it really takes its toll on the body. And if you're doing that from a young age when your body's still developing that strength, the back isn't quite as strong as it will be as you get older, and you can do the work to get that core strength as tip-top shape as you can get it. So he's a smart boy being able to make that decision and step back from an event that he is still very good at and know that longevity is the key in terms of trying to get towards the podium at majors. So smart, and it's nice to see that that smartness is wearing off with 64-metre throws.
It's just tough on the body trying to do both, and hammer throw's always been early in the program.
Well, there wouldn't be a lot of people that would do both at a world meet.
No.
It's a pretty different event. I know people often just go, well, throws, you could do the discus and shot, but they're actually really different. So when you become a specialised elite thrower, you tend to then choose the throw that you're the best at.
What do you mean? You're both in a circle and you spin around?
Yeah, said like a 400-metre runner.
So Edmondson back into the circle. Good release.
If I heard you correctly there, the fastest
Out over 40 metres.
ever, over 800 metres.
There's Russo, the West Aussie.
Only a youngster, but I'm sure it's a great experience to be throwing in the circle with the likes of Matt Denny. Now, he wouldn't normally be throwing a 2-kilo discus. That's for sure. But being in a track classic, an open competition, you know, the para-athletes will throw their open weight, which is different for the different classifications. But for the able-bodied athletes, hands on the 2-kilo discus. And if you've ever picked up a 2-kilo discus, it's not really hands-on. It's hands in and sort of, you know, hopefully it balances on there somehow.
It's like the size of a dinner plate. So get your dinner plate at home and imagine throwing that around. That it weighed 2 kilos.
Yeah, because no one's eating out a 2-kilo dinner plate.
No. Well, yeah, maybe some nice fancy stone one. Or
Get the stone plates out, dear.
So there's Courtney Hines. Typically known for his shot put. He did just break the Western Australian state record in the shot put, taking the record away from his coach, Matt Barber. It doesn't look like that
holding
came
on to
out
that
of
maybe a
his,
bit too long. Yeah,
it didn't come out of the hand very well. So Courtney Hines definitely better than that. So he'll have more attempts here in this discus competition, but it was a stellar performance on Wednesday night for him to take that state record. 8:41 he threw, and that's with a 7.26 kilo shot put. So if anyone has ever picked one of those up, they'll know exactly how heavy that is and how impressive it is to throw at 18 metres.
Yeah, Daniel Kirk in the circle now. South Australian, based in...
Seems like he's been looking at the technique featuring on the Instagram, but just
out of the sector
out
there.
Of the sector.
We were here They measure these sectors early. We were here a good 5 hours ago.
Yep.
Sectors were getting put in.
They were.
Now up in the circle. It's Matt Denny asking for the crowd support in this discus. Get around him, ladies and gentlemen. 65 metres is what we need. Oh, that looks good. Come on. Oh.
Ever so close again.
Is there a force field out there?
Who knows?
He's feeling it. So it looks like we're close to the final rounds now. Malcolm Clark next up into the circle. No, just copying the bit of netting there. For Clark. What's up next up would be Etienne Rousseau.
Amenities, because the track action is about to heat up. And
Followed by Hamilton Hines. Hamilton, an F12 athlete, so visually impaired, according to our start lists. Hines probably up next with Kirk. So it looks like we got down trackside as Tamsin with long jump winner Darcy Roper.
You've done a personal best, but you say you're not sure if you're happy or not.
I'm definitely happy with it. I'm ecstatic. To go for from 8:01 and then hit that 8:30, you know, it was just such a buzz and the crowd just got behind me, and I knew that more 8-metre jumps were there, and yeah, it was waiting to happen.
Well, you did 8:20 with a 2.1 in Canberra, and you've done an 8:32 with a 2.6. That didn't look windy.
Oh, it didn't feel windy, and I genuinely think it was the wind generated from me running past the wind gauge, but what the heck.
I agree. We should put a protest in. It was a great jump. To know that you've done 8:32, though, it must feel pretty good.
Yeah, it feels amazing, and definitely gives me a lot of confidence for the rest of the season, and I just can't wait for Brisbane next weekend, and then Sydney Nationals, and it's on.
Well, you finished with a legal 8:13. 8:12 won a medal in London Olympics, so you must be pretty pumped heading to Tokyo next year Olympics.
Heading into Tokyo, hopefully. Look, I just need to keep focused on what I'm doing on the runway and just keep hitting my strides and nailing the board, and then, you know, those jumps will come. But massive shout out to you guys in the crowd. It's been absolutely fantastic, and you've just got amongst everyone on the pole vault, in the high jump, on the runway, and it's just been awesome to be down here and competing. Definitely one of the best meets I've competed at in years, so thank you very much, everyone.
I think Darcy agrees it's field and track tonight, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the long jump, we're going to see big things from this lad in the future, Darcy Roper.
I see Danny just not getting the launch angle he would like on that one. One more round in this combined discus at the Jandakot Airport Track Classic. Jandakot, the place of the Whistling Eagle.
If you say so.
That's the Aboriginal name for the area. That's what it translates to. I'm not sure. I haven't been there, but Whistling Eagle, airport, you know, I don't know.
Something we haven't seen and spoken about in a while is Fashcam.
Oh, Fashcam.
It was a feature of a previous live stream.
Wasn't a great feature.
It wasn't a great feature. But I've noticed a lot of these athletes out there just all wearing very plain, dull, boring. There's no flair and flavour.
Just tell me what you really think about it.
Well, I'm just going to put it back to the Johnny Steph days.
When the bone suit.
The bone suit, the pink suit. Like, he came out with some flair and colour. Ben Harradine was another one. I've seen him in a Hulk outfit. I've seen him in like a lumberjack-looking uniform.
The full muscle suit.
It's just none of that character out there at the moment. I want to see a little bit of that back.
So we are in our last round. Sarah Edmondson leading off the charge there. Malcolm Clark next up into the circle. Etienne Rousseau. A much better attempt there for Rousseau. Came in with a 45.56. I think he's improved on that one. You see here on the Coles replay, really he's getting the optimal launch angle. Uh, 44.29, so not improving on his seed throw, but I'm sure he'll leave this competition happy. Thanks to BLK for our clock. The BLK clock.
BLK?
Yeah, it's all in one.
They've done a brilliant job bringing us the times here at the Perth Airport track, the Jandakot Airport Track Classic. Apologies.
It's a tongue twister.
So just a foul there for Hamilton. And there's your results from the men's long jump. And look at that jump at the top.
Doesn't that tell a story?
Oh, it does. Darcy Roper, 8:32. Matrevsky.
I still want to know what the wind is. I want to know what the wind was for that 8:32.
We'll have to find out to see what that is. And there's your results from the men's pole vault. Armstrong and Carruthers tying with a jump of 5:51. Clough next with Zoya, both with 5 meters 40.
But heading into the circle for the final throw, Matt Denny. He's been peppering that line out there. See if he can just drop one over the rope.
So 64.39 is his current best in this competition. Can he get himself over this 65 meters? I want to see it. You want to see it. We all want to see it.
I do want to see it.
I don't think there's anyone sitting at home that doesn't.
Oh, let's hope not.
See if we can will him over that 65 meters. Winds up and releases. It's out, it's out, it's out. Oh, ever so close again.
That's like a I reckon that's a 64, 81.
81. See, I'm going 64, 52.
Oh, mate, how big do you think her feet are?
Look, I'm just saying.
Yeah, whatever. 81 to... Oh, bugger.
40. Not, see, there you go. There you go. Obviously, I was quite correct on the size of her feet. 64.49 there for Matt Denny. With only 51 centimetres off that mark. As we see Matt make his way out to the sector. And he'll go and thank the officials. And this is really good to see that Australia's top athletes really appreciate the work that the officials put in here. As you can see on your screen, Matt Denny just shaking the hands of all the officials and volunteers that helped out with the competition tonight. So it wasn't to be for Matt Denny with the qualifier for Doha, but it's there. He knows it. He had a good, consistent series of throws, ending up with 64.49. So we'll see Denny again this summer.
Yeah, he'll be at the Queensland Track Classic.
Where hopefully he can get his 65 metres, get himself that ticket to Doha.
What did we say? How do you get to Doha? It's by dinghy? The dinghy to Doha?
A dinghy to Doha. It might take a little bit longer than a plane, but it doesn't matter.
I'd leave now.
The plane to Doha just doesn't sound as good, does it?
No, there's no... Alliteration sells tickets.
It does.
And the bus to Beijing, that was just too easy.
Yeah.
Plane to Paris, 2024, sorted.
Yeah.
The dinghy to Doha.
Yep, the train to Tokyo.
Done. What's 2022? Birmingham, you're getting on a bus again.
I think we can think of something different.
Didn't really cool down too much, though, this evening here at here in Perth.
No, it's still sitting at 23 degrees here at the stadium as we see the women come out for the 200 metres.
So only a few more events left on the track here for the program at the Jandakot Airport Track Classic. The women's 200 metres, the men's 200 metres, and the men's